mission is peace. Hi, welcome back to HeartFire Festival All Hallows Weekend 2020. We are streaming to you from the House land-based community sanctum right here in the Rocky Mountains and sending you all of our best wishes and blessings. We're so glad you're coming back to join us for the third and final day of this virtual event honoring the ancestors as a universal tradition that there are intersections from all different lineages around the world honoring this particular time that we're in right now as a special time, All Hallows Eve, Samhain, Dia de los Ancestros, and so on. So we are celebrating this weekend with all of you. We are celebrating this weekend with all of our incredible contributors and participants, our artists, teachers, workshop instructors, and we are celebrating this weekend with our Core World Changers team. As always, big shout out, big thank you to Alec, to Ashke, to Nathaniel, to everybody that's making this entire event possible. Raj, our friends in Hawaii, California, Oregon, Colorado, New York, Peru, Colombia, Massachusetts. We could go on and on, Europe. It just doesn't stop. So we're so glad you're here. We're so glad to bring you another day full of some special offerings from some special people. We're going to spend the rest of the afternoon continuing our study of sacred traditions, continuing this conversation, continuing to enjoy some poetry, some music, some sacred prayers. We've got some big acts coming up, some amazing concerts. And I could just go on, so I'll let you experience it for yourself. But again, we hope you got some good rest, and welcome to the third and final day of HeartFire. Peace.
Peace. So, bienvenidos una vez más a HeartFire Festival. Este es el tercer día de tanta alegría, música, sabiduría. Así que esperamos que ustedes hayan descansado muy bien, que estén felices así como nosotros. Y una vez más decir gracias a todo el equipo de HeartFire Festival, a Alec, a Ashke, a Yasha, a Netano, a Raj, a todos los artistas y personas que han sido también parte de este grupo, de esta familia de HeartFire Festival. Entonces desde aquí, desde House, desde las montañas de Colorado, abrimos una vez más esta puerta para recibir música increíble y bueno, algunos talleres muy increíbles que vienen a continuación.
Gracias, Waira. So once again, I go by Yasha Kasha, and I will be emceeing along with my better half here, Waira. And Waira will be translating the English into Spanish for our South American audience, so thank you for that. Thank you for all of the other work on this event. And so we're just going to jump right into it. Our first workshop is from a dear sister, a dear friend of mine that I just love with all my heart. Her and her partner Brody are in Hawaii now. We used to be in a band together, the old form of Original Currency. So big shout out to Nerete Yopis. She's a legend, and she's studying high level of Chinese medicine right now, getting all deep training in that particular lineage of Oriental and Chinese medicine and healing traditions. And so she'll be giving us a basic introduction to the 5 elements from that tradition of Chinese medicine, the specific 5 elements that they work with, the associations. And so I recommend having a notebook, sitting down and taking some notes so we can really learn some things together this weekend. So definitely thank you for being here, Nerete, and enjoy.
Yeah, disfruten este taller que viene a continuación de una especial amiga, Nirete, o Amor, también algunos la conocen como Amor. Es un hermoso nombre y bueno, recomendamos que puedan tener cerca de ustedes un papel o un cuaderno para tener apuntes de este grandioso taller acerca de la medicina china, ¿no? En un nivel muy, muy especial, muy alto que ella nos va a compartir. Así que esperamos que puedan disfrutar y bueno.
Sí, ella va a compartir una introducción porque ahora está aprendiendo a más profundo esta tradición y podemos escuchar solo por unos minutos primeros principios. Entonces, gracias y vamos a ver ustedes en unos minutos. Peace.
Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Nerete Odeleye Yopis. I am a soul-centered coach and wisdom traditions practitioner. I'm so grateful for you that you are tuning in, and I'm so excited to be here with you all for HeartFire. I'm excited to share with you 5 elements, the Taoist wisdom tradition of Chinese medicine. So this wisdom tradition is really the foundation of my coaching practice. And it involves the connection of nature within us and all around us, and the phenomenons and how we as humans are nature. We're part of nature. We have the same qualities as nature. So to begin, I just want to take a moment to honor the lineage, to honor the elders, the healers, the teachers, the sages who have held this wisdom, who have shared this wisdom. And I ask that they speak through me today as I share this wisdom with you. I also want to acknowledge and thank the native Hawaii people whose land I am on. Okay, so let's get into it. I think it's really important to kind of start at the beginning and acknowledge the indigenous ancient ones who are the Taoist people. So the Taoist people are really kind of the original, the indigenous people of China, also of the Philippines, and they realized, they connected with how important our connection with nature, with earth, with the natural phenomenon is. Because they believed as people from the earth, as people who lived from the earth, that it is important to continue to build this relationship and to also acknowledge that as people from the earth, we must have these different qualities within ourselves. That somehow we are connected. We are earth within our own body. We are natural phenomenon within ourselves. And so the first recognition that our Taoist ancestors realized or acknowledged was called the Li, which is patterns, that all around them, nature, the sun, the sky, the stars, the earth, the ground, all had Li, patterns. And they began to even look deeper. What are these patterns? And the first most important pattern that they came up with is yin and yang. They noticed that there is cold, there is hot. There is the sun, there is the moon, there is light, there is dark. So they started to see these polarities. And so they categorized 4 different aspects of yin and yang. And these different patterns or natural phenomenons also live within us. So the first one is opposition. Hot, cold, light, dark. So they are opposites. The second one is that they are interdependent, that you can't have one without the other, that existence actually evolves around these different polarities. The third is that they are mutually consuming. So as example, the sun comes up, as the light begins to shine, it consumes the dark. And then the fourth one is intertransformational. So with the exact timing and environment, that these opposites can actually transform into the opposing opposite. So if we think of hot and cold, if you put an excess amount of hot water with cold water, that other cold water will begin to transform and become warm. So these natural phenomenons also, again, live within us. These oppositions, these intertransformational phenomenon from the yin and yang, they began to dive deeper into the natural phenomenons and qualities of the earth around them and recognized 5 elements: water, wood, fire, earth, metal, also known as minerals. And they began to categorize and create correspondences that aligned with these different 5 elements, such as seasons, times of day, color, emotion, organs, and spiritual virtues, and more. And today we're going to talk about the human experience of these 5 elements on an emotional, physical, and spiritual level. Because these ancestors, our Eastern ancestors, our Taoist ancestors, believed that in order to truly heal, you have to heal on these 3 different levels. That these 3 different levels are what drive the healing process of a human being. So we'll start with water. The element of water represents a time of restoring, of drawing inward, reflecting. And if we think of the different qualities of water, we can see a gentle stream, a quiet reservoir, or a raging ocean. And the emotional quality that relates with water is fear. And so again, we have to kind of go back to yin and yang. What is the polarity, the opposition within fear? We have fearlessness, which again, on a polarity spectrum can be when someone is fearless and they will do things that kind of are really unsafe, that they could possibly die. So there's like this fear, like almost reckless, I would say reckless fearlessness. On the other side of that polarity of fear is the being so overwhelmed with fear that you're frozen, like frozen ice. You are so scared that you're unable to actually live and move in time and space and be able to do the things that you want to do. And so the polarity, if we come to the center, we see and we find caution, awareness, and the ability to overcome that fear or that caution in the right timing and setting. And the spiritual aspect of that is called the Z, willpower. And through this willpower of kind of stepping into the unknown, stepping into our fears, we gain wisdom. We transmute fear into wisdom. We learn from our fear. We learn from our experiences. And the organ that is connected to water, to fear, is the kidneys. And it's said that, the kidneys hold this emotion. And if we have gone through a traumatic experience that has created the emotional response of fear, and we aren't able to release that emotional, physical experience, then it can cause dis-ease to our kidneys physically or to that emotion. So we kind of stay stuck in that fear, and or to our spirit, we're not able to tap into our willpower. We're either very afraid and or we are unable to make decisions and kind of know what is good for us when we step into a fearful situation. This takes us to wood. Wood is the element and the season of spring, and it represents new growth, new vitality, birth. This is when all of the plants have began to grow, start to uproot into the earth. So from that seed, which would have been in the element of water, now it's starting to grow up. And the emotion related to wood is anger. And so again, let's look at the polarities. On one side, we have the inability to express anger. So we repress ourselves, and this creates internal conflict. We're not able to voice frustrations, irritabilities. The other side of it is our inability to express in a way that is healthy. So we express it with rage, shouting, yelling. And the balance of this would be being able to create in situations that we feel like injustice has occurred. So again, this element, a lot of times we experience anger when we feel that there is an injustice that has happened to us or to someone else. We feel angry about it. We feel irritated about it. And so it's being able to recognize this and create, make decisions and plan that will help the situation, that will help yourself, that will help others in response to the injustice. So the biggest thing about this balance is being creative. And this is actually where the spirit comes in, which is the Hun spirit, the ethereal spirit of creation. And it represents dreaming and hoping for our future. It's also tied in with our actual dreams. So when we sleep, this is our other life. And this is where the ethereal soul, a part of us, is able to dream and move to different dimensions and communicate with us. And the organ that it is associated with is the liver. And, this is something that's probably more common. And a good example of this is, you think about someone who drinks a lot. They go out to the bars. They drink, and if they have repressed anger or anger that they haven't dealt with, whether it's, repressed or rage, that anger seems to come out. So if you think about, around 1 or 3 a.m., bar fights are usually breaking out around that time. The toxins of alcohol affect the liver, because the function of the liver is to metabolize. And when we drink alcohol, it's very poisonous to the liver. And so the liver can't metabolize it, and it has to work extra hard. So it's literally overcompensating to try and metabolize this. And that overworking affects, again, our emotional, our spiritual balance. And so that imbalance shows up on a mental and spiritual level. So just to kind of wrap the wood element up, it is our ability to create. It is our ability to make decisions and plan for our future, to have hope for our future, to start new beginnings. So from wood, we move to fire. And fire is the heart of everything. It is the passion, the love, the joy. And so the emotion of fire is joy. And again, we see the polarities. So lack of joy and or an excessive joy. And so excessive joy doesn't seem that bad, right? However, anything in excess is harmful. So, for example, someone who is joyous all the time will show joy in inappropriate settings. For example, if you shared with them that, a loved one has passed away, and then they start laughing. So it's the inappropriate space and time for joy. It's not being able to connect with someone where they're at and through their experience. And so the polarity or the balance of this would be being able to give and receive joy and love when the time is appropriate, when the time is and the environment is appropriate for that. The spiritual aspect of fire is the Shin Spirit. The Shin Spirit is known as the complexity and encompassing of all of the other 5 element spirits. And it's said to be housed within the heart, which is one of the organs associated with the fire element. And so this represents our ability to give and receive love. It's our passion, it's our purpose. It's, you take the element of the spirit aspect of wood, which is being able to create and hope and dream for our future. And you take that and you put it in alignment with the Shin Spirit. And that is when you find your passion and purpose. The organs associated with fire are the heart, as I mentioned, the small intestines, the pericardium, and the triple heater. And I'm going to talk about the heart and the small intestines. So the heart is called the supreme governor or ruler of the body, just like the spirit is, the Shin Spirit. And it connects us and moves blood and nutrients throughout the whole body. The small intestines is called the separator of pure from impure. So it's literally taking in nutrients from the stomach and then filtering it. If it's healthy and nutrients based, it will go back to the body. If it's not, it will filter it to the large intestines. And so on a mental and spiritual level, this is our ability to separate what is good and what is not good for us. Thinking about the emotion of joy. Does this bring me joy or not? And being able to filter what is good and what is not good for us in our life. So these officials, also known as the organs, hold a physical function, but they also correlate to the mental and spiritual function. So I just want to relay that because I think it's really important in the healing process. And then we move to Earth. So Earth is a time, it represents late summer and the time of harvest. So it's the time where we reap what we have sowed in winter, in spring, in summer. And the emotion of Earth is worry. So on one side we have being a sympathy, an excessive sympathy. And on the other side, we have worry or not being able to connect or give and receive the nourishment that you need or others need. And so the balance of this would be compassion. Being compassion for yourself, compassion for others and where they are, and also creating boundaries around that. Because ultimately, Earth is about nourishment. It's about nourishing yourself. It's about nourishing other. It relates to the mother, the characteristics of the mother. And the spirit aspect of Earth is the yi, or the intellect. And again, it relates to this nourishment, this ability to have awareness of compassion. And it also relates to our ability to manifest. So as we kind of talked about in these other elements and their spirit, you have willpower that draws the force of making decisions and decisions that align with our purpose. And then we reach earth, which is the manifestation of our purpose, of our decisions, of our wisdom into our reality. It is the manifestation and the reaping of what we have put our mind, our body, and spirit, our focus into. And the organs that are associated with this are the stomach and the spleen. And so the stomach represents the ability to absorb food, right? So how, on an emotional and spiritual level, how are we able to absorb life experiences? The spleen represents the transformation or the transportation of fluids and nutrients within the body. How are we able to transition through these life experiences? How are we able to create boundaries that nourish us? How are we able to accept? So these are really important questions that we can ask ourselves in relation to earth and to the earth within us. And the last element is metal, our minerals. Metal represents the time of completion. You have already harvested. Now what has been harvested or what has been left on the trees, the fruits begin to rot. They begin to descend back down into the earth. And so this time of completion relates to the emotion of grief. And so when grief is imbalanced, we're able to release sadness, pain. We're able to release all of the emotions. It represents that time of completion. On the one side of polarity, if you are stuck in grief, stuck in sadness, it takes a toll on your spirit, on your immune system. On the other side of the polarity is not being able to release. So you hold. You hold the sadness. You hold the anger. You hold the fear. You hold it. So finding that balance of being able to move through the processes of our emotion is very important. And it's the human experience. And the spirit of metal relates to all of the emotions. It is the somatic processing. It is the movement of all of the emotions into completion or into the ability to release. So through that grief. The Po spirit, also known as the corporal soul, is our ability to breathe in inspiration. So we kind of look at the yin and yang of this. It's our ability to release, and it's our ability to receive. Inspirations from the heaven, inspiration from guides, teachers, angels, ancestors. So the organs relating to the metal element are the lungs, known as the receiver of chi, of heavenly chi. And then we have the large intestines, which is also known as the great eliminator. So we can see how the mental, physical, and spiritual align. the lungs breathe in and also release, and the large intestines receive and also release waste. So this is our ability on a mind, body, and spirit level to be able to breathe in inspiration and release what is not good for us. So these are the different qualities and aspects of the 5 elements. And I encourage you, if you're already feeling like, ooh, this is really interesting, I encourage you to learn more and read. There's so many beautiful books and resources online that you can tap into that talk about the 5 elements, because these elements are used in so many different indigenous practices all around the world. And our ancestors from all over the earth recognize the connection to elements. And I'm briefly just going to mention that within the elements, there are different cycles. The cycle of creation, how we can use our emotions and our physical and spiritual qualities to help create and inspire ourselves and others and uplift others. Or when we're stuck in an imbalance on an emotional, physical, or spiritual level, we create dis-ease, we create destruction within ourselves and within others. And it's important to remember that all healing is the unity of mind, body, and spirit. And it's important to learn how to have awareness for ourselves, learn how to listen to our bodies, our mind, our spirit, learn how to connect with nature. So if this has inspired you, or you want to learn more about what it means to connect and heal and learn about your body, your mind, your spirit, and how you can manifest and grow your relationship with your willpower, with these spiritual aspects of yourself, I invite you to check out my coaching program. I have one-on-one offerings. I have community offerings. Check out my website at nourishingnature.co. I am beyond excited and honored to share this knowledge in a deeper level with you and with others. Thank you again for joining. Thank you so much, HeartFire, for having me here today. And I just want to offer these last 30 minutes to the good of all beings. I just want to give this as an offering and gratitude and honoring of the 5 elements of this knowledge of the lineage, and to take a moment to praise the ancestors, the planets, the plants, and the people. Thank you so much, and many blessings.
Wow, thank you so much, Narete, for that beautiful workshop. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you sharing the knowledge that you're learning right now with us, and it's just so amazing. We can't wait to keep working with you, keep learning from you, keep having you share all of these things that you're absorbing now with our community, and all of your background experience and knowledge that we know goes deep. And so, again, that was just a perfect workshop. Thank you so much. Definitely learn about Narete on the HeartFire website. She's got a bio there, more projects you can look into with her organization. Big shout out to the family in Hawaii, Narete, Brody, and everyone else out there on the islands. Next up, I'm going to share a little Tai Chi practice, which is a martial art. I'll go into what it's all about during the workshop. So just like the yoga with Raj yesterday, this is a participatory workshop. It's good to be ready to do a little movement, a little practice. I'll be doing some covering of theory first, so there might be some note-taking, but we're just going to dive into a basic introduction to the Qigong, or energy work aspect of Tai Chi Chuan training. So it's the basic elements, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Gracias, Nerete, por brindar estos sabiduría desde Hawái, ¿no? Nos acompaña Nirete. Gracias nuevamente por tu servicio, por tu presencia. Y bueno, vamos a continuar con Tai Chi, que Yasha nos va a enseñar, una introducción también. Así que bueno, recomendaciones directamente desde el facilitador. ¿Quieres decir algo de recomendaciones o algo?
Solo estar lista, practicar y escuchar también.
Ok, entonces vamos a ver Tai Chi.
Gracias. So, welcome to the Tai Chi Chuan Class for HeartFire Festival. Tai Chi, what is Tai Chi? Well, there are a few different perspectives on the meaning of the word, the name Tai Chi. One perspective that's kind of popular for obvious reasons of bias is that Tai Chi means the supreme ultimate boxing, or the highest epitome of what martial arts can be. This is a little bit of a mistranslation, but the reason why it exists is that Tai Chi is considered an internal martial art, rather than a martial art of external force. An internal martial art like Tai Chi is one that cultivates, rather than strength and muscle and rigidity, more so fluidity and relaxation. And you'd think, well, how's that going to help me in a fight? And the answer is it might not for decades and decades, because most of the transformation and the alchemy is happening internally inside of the practitioner. However, after decades and decades of deep practice and training, it is possible that these so-called internal martial arts, like Tai Chi, actually end up surpassing the force and strength of all the other martial arts that originally were more effective at fighting because they were oriented around that external force and strength. So this is one explanation for the idea of Tai Chi as a supreme ultimate form of martial arts, just meaning that eventually, hypothetically, after years and years of mastery, a true martial arts master could truly contend with the greatest of hardcore martial arts of other kinds, which are more fighting oriented. However, it is a bit of a mistranslation. So what then does Tai Chi really mean? Well, one understanding of the word Tai Chi Chuan is that it can translate as the great separation. Now, you know, in spiritual circles, we tend to talk about unity and connection. So what is this emphasis on separation all about? Well, it's the primordial separation of yin from yang, the two opposite poles, yang or yang, symbolizing one extreme or pole, and yin symbolizing the opposite. And these two sides are constantly interrelated, they inform each other, they dance together, they are both part of the Tao. And prior to coming into distinguishing themselves from each other, there is a state known as Wu Wei within Taoist literature, Taoism, and martial arts and Tai Chi. There's this idea of Wu Wei, which is prior to Tai Chi. It exists as an undifferentiated primordial unity, where there is no separation of yin and yang. However, Tai Chi is actually all about the alchemical mastery of gradually really learning how to pinpoint that moment of separation between yin and yang, and relaxing enough to separate the two completely as a part of the practice. So one way in which this is expressed is that as we practice Tai Chi, we actually sink 100% of our weight into the left or right foot as we go through the form and the motions. This is called the separation of the weight. And the separation of yin and yang actually exists even in every part of your finger. However, the most kind of dense and tangible way to start relating to what is Tai Chi really, what does it mean to do Tai Chi rather than just mimicking the choreography, is to fully relax into and understand the movement of the weight. that is always either in the left or right. Sometimes there's a 70-30 percentage distribution on rare occasion, and sometimes there is Wu Wei, where both feet are equal and we are suspended from the heavens. However, in any real Tai Chi posture, there is always this hairline, tiny razor's edge moment where we pass carefully from 100% in the right to 100% in the left, and so on and vice versa. And at that moment when we pass, we can actually completely lift the leg that is empty without adjusting our weight. As you can see me doing here, I'm not really moving. I am sinking my weight down through what we call the bubbling well, the center of my left foot, and lifting my right. So we could try this all together for a moment just to get a sense of Tai Chi. So just take a moment, come into your body, feel your belly center, the lower dantian, folding the quads, moving from the center, feeling the lower back, the hips and waist, the belly area as the region that directs your motion. And as you do this, step into one foot, and without changing the structure, the integrity of your stance, your posture, in a fluid, relaxed way, just lift the empty foot. You see how it's possible to balance completely on one, or shifting into your opposite foot, lifting the new empty foot like so, and seeing how it's possible to really subtly pinpoint that moment of total separation of the weight. Of course, there's all kinds of, in-depth symbology we could go into, how yin and yang may symbolize the left and right side of the body, and the weight is being invested in one or the other at a time. So in this sense, the solar and lunar channels, the feminine and masculine archetypes, and so on come into play. Now, just to wrap up this basic introduction of what Tai Chi is all about and what the word means, I'd like to illustrate with what I think is a little bit more precise, at least according to the lineage in which I've trained, of a definition than either of these two. So one is, we've gone over supreme ultimate boxing or fighting. We've gone over the great separation. You can see how those two relate. And, the first one's not quite it, because it's more about unfighting rather than fighting, making it so that you're not there if someone attacks, and as a result it becomes impossible to attack. And so with minimal harm to self and other, de-escalating the situation if violence arises. It's more of a dance. It's got a lot of etiquette. So for that reason, not quite resonating with supreme ultimate boxing. And then there's the great separation, but this is somewhat obscure, and thinking of it purely in physical terms limits the true meaning. So now, the ideal way to describe what is Tai Chi is to think of a mountain ridge. Now we can all picture, especially if you happen to be blessed with the beautiful mountains like we are here in Colorado, you can imagine what the mountain ridges look like. Imagine that you're gazing at mountains, whether they're in, the Far East or, the Americas, all over the world. Mountains have the same quality, which is that there's a peak, and that peak isn't just a pyramidal peak that you get to. It also has a ridge that runs along the mountain continually. Now that ridge plays a very significant role in the life of that mountain, because that razor's edge pinpoint line of separation that moves non-linearly through the mountain range, marking the top of the mountain, is what separates the side of the mountain that receives sunlight from the side that remains in shade. And so depending which direction the side of the mountain is pointing towards, you are either on the yin or the yang side of that mountain. The whole mountain itself perhaps could be seen as the Tao or Wu Wei. depending on how deep we want to go. But Tai Chi is the ridge itself at the top. So Tai Chi is that razor's edge that we dance along in a non-linear fashion in order to constantly maintain a perfect separation, a perfect alchemical separation, distinction of the two opposite sides of that mountain, one receiving hot sunlight, the other staying in the shade, in the yin. So thank you for entertaining this short basic introduction to the meaning of Tai Chi, so we can ground ourselves in a little theory before we start. I hope that it's been informative, and we will proceed to practice some warm-up exercises for Tai Chi, which are a form of Qigong, and then to basically transmit just the first motion of the opening form. So Tai Chi Chuan in our lineage is often called the lineage of Professor Chengmen Ching, and my teachers of Tai Chi, Sifus Beth and Lee, are current lineage holders of that particular transmission, and studied under Batan and many other masters. And so at a certain point, they passed the permission and the encouragement to start instructing Tai Chi and Qigong exercises and elements and sharing the practice. Now, this does not make me a master or a lineage holder by any means. However, it's a part of my continued training and learning and my instructions from my elders in this particular practice to start sharing it with others and to integrate it with the many other practices of yoga asana, Shaolin physical therapy, Qigong, even Kung Fu in the past, that I've received over the past couple decades since early childhood, studying these psychosomatic exercises. So, that being said, we will move into something that is known as the animal frolics, the 5 animal frolics. Now, the reason we call this Qigong, even though people normally conceive of Qigong as a separate discipline outside of Tai Chi, is that Qigong simply means energy work. And so to prepare for a Tai Chi exercise, we start with activating the meridians and moving the qi through the subtle body. And for this reason, we use Qigong. And these particular Qigong exercises, which are sometimes said to connect with the Chinese 5 elements and various other archetypal patterns of energy, they are very ancient. These are perhaps some of the most ancient Qigong motions known on the planet, according to the studies that I've conducted and the teachings received. So this is perhaps some of the original Qigong material that we have access to as humans. And they're very special, and it's really an opportunity to have contact with these practices, which, have been occult and esoteric for much of human history, not accessible to most of us around the world from different backgrounds. So it's truly a blessing and a privilege to be able to learn about these particular exercises. And one thing that you can feel, perhaps this isn't the right term, but almost shamanistic quality to these exercises is that they're mimicking the motion of animals. They're harmonizing our system with the system of nature around us by connecting us with these sort of totem or power animal, spirit animal type guides, really, because we are doing the bear, we are mimicking and reflecting and even embodying and taking on the energy of, say, the tiger or the deer as we go through these ancient Qigong motions. And the more that we do so, the more we cultivate what Tai Chi calls Kung Fu. So Kung Fu is also not a separate discipline outside of Tai Chi, but within the Tai Chi tradition means the cultivation of skill. So we will now just do a basic introduction to start cultivating a little bit of Kung Fu using Qigong, and then introduce the opening move of the Tai Chi form, which is a Yang style form. So, that was a lot of information. Let's just shake it off and transition from theory fully and completely into practice now. So, just allowing that info to digest for a moment and arriving in the present moment, dropping all of the information and becoming fully present here and now. Now, as we arrive, we can bring our 2 feet shoulder width apart, parallel to each other, facing forward wherever you are, which is known as Tai Chi North. The knees are slightly bent. The tailbone is relaxed. Do not tuck your tailbone in by force. Do not jut your tailbone out. Instead, just let the sits bone, the butt, the tailbone all just relax and rest down in a straight line towards the ground. The lower back fills in as if you're sitting on the edge of a bar stool, making a truly buoyant and full back that's straight in the Tai Chi sense. The upper back, the shoulders, the chest are also all relaxed. The belly is especially relaxed and full, feeling the lower dantian, breathing naturally. From here, we can also feel in this stance as if we have 2 boiled eggs. They use funny metaphors underneath our armpits. And this is just to get the sense of gently holding the arms slightly open because they're full of chi. We're activating them with life force energy, becoming awake, wakeful, present, vital, vibrant. Letting go of all our different concerns, leaving them at the doorstep. We can pick them back up after practice if we wish to go back to our daily troubles, but at least during the practice, just drop them at the threshold and come on in into this space, dropping the mental baggage and bringing the mind, bringing the awareness down from the head center, the upper dantian, through the heart, the middle, and down into the lower dantian, which is just 2 finger widths below the belly button and 2 finger widths in towards the spine, feeling that lower dantian belly center, and letting all motion be directed from there by the lower back, hips, and waist, by that center of gravity, the lower dantian. Making slight motions side to side just to feel the dantian there in the belly. As you turn side to side, you can truly let your mind rest in the navel belly button region, so much so that you could even imagine a flashlight moving side to side as if illuminating the space in front of you from the belly region. The nose does not turn past the belly button, it stays in a line. The shoulders also stay centered over the belly region. Again, remember, the feet are parallel. The neck is also relaxed. The hands are open and relaxed. We call this beautiful lady's hand. Knees slightly bent, keeping center of gravity low and relaxed, sinking down towards the earth. Feeling all tension just melt off of you. Every muscle in your body relaxing more and more. Just dripping down into the earth. However, as we are deeply and completely relaxed, we are also have a skeleton, a structure that's completely upright. So this active, upright structure of the skeleton and these completely, deeply relaxed, deprogrammed muscles that just let go together create the deep relaxation combined with the intense wakefulness, presence, and upright form of Tai Chi. So fully embodying that paradox of relaxed and upright. Now the neck, on top of it rests on top of the straight spinal column, the skull. It's suspended from the rear crown of the head, from the top of the heavens, and so hangs ever so slightly pointed down. The eyes are completely relaxed and gazing towards the horizon. Now with the feet relaxed, the weight sinking through the bubbling well, which is the space, if you feel the pad behind your big toe, your little toes, and your heels are the tripod, and they're all connected to the ground. They stay connected completely. And the weight sinks down through the empty space in between them called the bubbling well. The knees stay bent. We don't take the leg along for a ride, which can harm the knee. Instead, we intentionally put in the effort, even when it's very hard, to relax more deeply and let go of that tension, leaving the knee in a straight line over the toes, over the big toe. And as we pivot, turning side to side, we also fold in to one qua, which is this space next to the groin. As you turn in towards one leg, one qua opens, the other qua shuts, opening and closing for full turns. All of the movement, though rooted in the legs and rising up, is directed by the center, the hips and waist, the belly, and then expressed in and through the arms, which are just along for the ride, like an elastic and completely interconnected system where the slightest motion in the belly is what causes the arms to move as a result. And so they swim gently through the air around. The eyes relax. Make sure they stay open and gaze towards the horizon, slightly open and soft. The cheeks are relaxed. If anything, there's a very subtle smile, but there's no efforting in the face. The tongue can even fill the mouth because it's so relaxed. Maybe the lips are slightly parted open, just because the whole face is completely relaxed, unconcerned with appearance, dropping into the belly, into complete presence. Now as we continue this bare motion, see if you can also feel the substance of the air around your hands as they move through the space as if you were feeling currents of water, because the air has substance. It's just too subtle for the dense, gross version of our overactive mind to notice. So as we drop down into the subtle sensations, we may notice we're actually in a sort of atmospheric fishbowl of air. See if your awareness can include that in your experience. Feeling your belly center, feeling the space around you, observing anything that arises and falls away from beyond. So this is meant to be a workout for the legs, so try and really get deep into the motions to create a strong foundation. Any discomfort, pain, shaking means that it's probably working, strengthening the muscles, opening the meridians of the legs so the energy can flow. And so continuing to really relax towards the earth and turn side to side. Remembering always to continue breathing in and out through the nostrils. So just doing this motion every day, after waking up or before going to bed, as many times as you feel willing, is a great way to enter a meditative state that also engages the physical body and the soul, the heart, mind. So if there's any tension anywhere, just bring your E there. Don't use Li, don't use muscular force, use E, use your awareness. Bring your intentionality, your intention, the awareness of your heart mind to that space. And the chi, the energy, will naturally follow and flow there as you breathe into it and notice it. Moving that through those channels, opening them, opening any stagnation and blockages that have accumulated and blocked the original, natural, essential flow that's always been outlined there under the surface. So getting back in touch with that. Now, if we're getting the hang of this, we can enter some real Tai Chi by bringing all of our weight into the leg that we're turning towards. So continue to turn side to side, relax, stay upright, stay in the Tai Chi mode. But as you turn side to side, let all of your weight go into the right, into the left, into the foot that you're standing onto. That you're turning towards. The one where the qua folds is full. The one where the qua opens is empty. You could even lift it. Relaxing and sinking into the motions. We're just going to do another moment of this. I wanted to go really deeply into the bear because they say that all of Tai Chi is contained in this one movement. So you could just master this. So since it's a limited time frame for this one class, and Tai Chi is actually a lifelong path and a real training process of years that's meant to truly transform us in a lasting way over time with discipline. So since this is just an experiential peak for those that may want to go deeper later, I wanted to really focus on the move that's said to contain it all, like a fractal. So as you get the hang of the bear, really remember this motion, integrate this exercise so you can do it on your own later. And now we will continue flowing. So there's also 70-30 motions, which we won't learn today. The 70-30 bear looks like this. For when you want to learn it, you'll have a reference point. But now, since we're skipping 70-30s, we'll just go straight into the monkey stealing the peaches of immortality from the garden. So as you step with one foot forward, heel first. Let's start, say, with the left foot. Stepping forward, heel first. You're a monkey and you're reaching over the fence towards the peach that's just hanging out of reach. And you try to reach it, but it's so far that at the last moment, this elastic tension you create along the side brings your knee up. And you create a hook where all four fingers touch each other and the thumb. And then you enjoy playing like a monkey and eating your peach. Step forward with the opposite foot. Opposite hand from the foot that steps forward comes up at the shoulder and reaches. As it reaches, the back foot elongates and eventually the knee comes up at the same time as the hook is made. So follow along with this, stepping, heel first, reaching, grab the peach. So from the back this would look like this, going with the the left foot first, stepping with the left, reaching with the right hand, grab the peach, stepping with the right, reaching with the left hand, enjoy the peach. And just a few more times, continuing reaching, grab the peach and enjoy it. So it's a result of the reach that the hook is made and the knee comes up by nature. Playfulness of the monkey. And last time. Now we've cultivated a little bear energy, little monkey, and we're ready to move into the ferocious tiger. So I'll start just by teaching the footwork. So one foot, let's say starting on the right, leaps forward, heel first, back foot comes along for the ride, steps just behind the front foot empty, then you drop into the back foot. 100% of the weight is now in the left, the right is buoyant. It's not tense, we're not doing ballet, it's just resting empty on the ball. Again, footwork on the other side, stepping through a V where the feet are at an angle from the heel. Leaping forward with the left, back foot comes along for the ride, relaxed, and drop into the back foot, 100%. Left foot is empty, resting on the ball. Now let's focus on the hands. As you leap forward, the arms make a circle, fists facing each other, thumbs on top, relaxed fists facing each other in a circle towards you. You sit onto the back leg, you open your claws forward, showing them to the world, reversing the fists so the palms point forward, thumbs on the bottom. So putting these together too in a fluid motion, you leap forward, you sit back and open your claws like a tiger. You can make a growl as you exhale and sit back if you like, fully embodying the tiger energy. If you feel like you're getting the hang of this, you can also practice letting your energy continue to move forward as you sit back, which is the next level. If you can notice your mind actually, with your eyesight, pierces through the negative space between the fingers that go with your front foot as you sit back. So on the hand that's on the same side as the front foot, gaze forward past the fingers through the negative space, piercing into the space ahead, filling your surroundings with your awareness, exhaling and growl. So in this particular one, even as the weight comes back, the chi moves further forward. Feel the power of the tiger opening its claws and showing them to the world. A couple more times. Good. And now we will practice the gentle and tender deer. So this requires the footwork known as 70-30, which we mentioned at the beginning, where one foot, let's start with the right, comes in front. The 2 feet are shoulder width, not too wide, not too narrow, shoulder width. Left foot stays behind at a slight angle, about 30 degrees. The front foot points straight at Tai Chi North in front of you. The front leg is bent, knees bent. 70% of the weight is in the front. Ultimately, all of the weight would be in the front, but because you're completely relaxed and releasing this entire empty leg, all of its weight, due to the geometry and architecture of this form position, actually rests on that back leg. So you're completely supported and strong here. You step back through the V, heels come together. Leave the right foot behind. Left foot steps forward, heel first, pointing straight at Tai Chi North. And you square up, folding into the left qua, dropping and relaxing the right knee over the big toe, facing Tai Chi North with your whole torso centered in the lower Dantian. Again, moving through a V and coming into a 70-30. Now let's get into the handwork. As your hands come up your center line and open out in front of you, the front hand, the hand that goes with the front foot, is your antler that you're opening and showing to the world at this diagonal angle. And the fingers of the back hand relate to the elbow of the front. So they're not touching, but they're relating in this shape. And so in a graceful motion, as you step forward, the arms come up through your central channel, spiraling out and unwinding, and you show your antlers to the world. Look at these antlers, aren't they nice? The gentle deer. So a simple, graceful motion, moving through the V, coming in and out of the 70-30, extending the antlers, back fingers relate to front elbow. Once you get the hang of this, there's a very essential and crucial element of this posture, which is to smile. So it is obligatory. Please make sure you do it, all of you over there, I really mean it. The other side of the camera, I can't come check on you or give corrections long distance, so just make sure you're smiling or I'll get very upset. Just kidding. But it is good to smile, so this is a true yogic exercise, in some traditions would be called. It's a core part of the energy work, it's a core part of the Tai Chi, to soften, loosen the facial muscles from their tension. Remember how to smile and to feel the smile in your arms, to feel it in your eyes, in your cheek, your neck. Feel the smile in your heart, your chest, your belly. Smiling with your legs all the way down your feet to your toes, feeling the smile, even beyond the borders of your skin, in your surrounding world. Letting it all smile with you. Smiling. However subtle the smile might be, make sure that you're doing it as you go through these motions of the deer. Gentle and tender deer with a subtle and authentic smile. And just 2 more times, once on each side. Wow, look at these beautiful deer. Okay. So if we really do this after a little cultivation, we notice that makes a real difference. Every time we drop into the practice, you can feel a different vibration in your body, your mind, moving at a slightly different pace, different concentration. So try and just feel that, see what you notice, if you see the subtle differences that are actually quite powerful from the exercise. And lastly, in terms of the animal frolics, we will just do the crane. So the arms of the crane are your wings. They come forward already in a hook, so all fingers touching the thumbs, up in front of you straight, open out to the sides like a wingspan, and closing your wings as you drop back into your belly center, contracting. The feet, let's start with the left. Left foot comes forward as the wings come up. Like a marionette doll, you're pulling your leg interconnected on a string with your wings. They open and bring the knee up towards your chest. But nothing that you can't do while relaxed, so take on the full form, but do it completely relaxed. Stepping forward. Hands come up, wings open, full wingspan. Dropping the knee back down, retracting into your belly center. Opening forward and out in all directions, feeling the space all around you, filling it with your awareness, letting your mind grow, and then bringing the wings back down in to your belly, refocus. You may find that you inhale as the arms come up with the hooks and the wings open, pulling the knee up, and that you exhale as you come back into the V. Inhaling forward, inhaling deeper as you open the chest. Exhaling as your wings fold in and you step back to the V in your center. Expand, fill the space. Exhale, retract. Graceful motions help to generate the energy field, healing your whole system, empowering you, harmonizing with the surroundings, totality. Very good. Now the last thing we'll do is briefly close just by introducing the opening move of the Tai Chi form. So all of these are tools. It's not so much something for tourism as it is something for really facing the real difficulties and challenges of daily life relationship and gradually mastering and disciplining ourselves with these technologies, these inner work practices. So creating a crucible for all different emotions, boredom, reactions to come up and overcoming them as we do these practices. So starting in a V, Wu Wei arriving. 100% of the weight sinks into the right foot, bending the knee, stepping for shoulder width with the left toes point to Tai Chi North for parallel. Shift all the weight into the left, now the right is empty. Pivot on the right heel so the toes point forward as well. Check and correct your stance. The 2 feet are parallel, shoulder width in line with each other, knees slightly bent. Back in this basic position. We say 30% of the weight is in the right, 30% in the left. Perhaps 40 is suspended from the crown, from the heavens. So, breathing in, lifting the arms just to the level of the chest. Exhaling, bringing the hands in towards your chest. Inhaling, opening the palms forward, fingers point up. Exhaling down towards the ground, bringing the palms all the way down. Inhaling, feel the space in front of you. Exhale, feel the space behind you. Inhale, feel the space above you. Exhale, feel the space below you. Connecting from the earth to this in-between realm of the human heart. Connecting with the heavens, the sky above, and back down to the earth. So continuing to breathe in to the chest level, opening, stretching the wrists so they get nice and open, stretching them the other way, and exhale down, creating beautiful lady's hand, unbroken wrist. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. The elbows stay heavy and relaxed the whole time. You don't go too high or too far back. Just simple motions synchronized with the breath. And one last time, silently feeling it. Weight back into the left, pivoting the right heel, stepping with the left into a V, and stepping out of the practice for today. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I hope you've enjoyed this Tai Chi introduction class. We usually bow at the end. The right hand is a fist, meaning that it's friendly practice. It's not a real fight. So I'm not challenging with the left fist. I'm offering peace and respect in a martial arts bow with the right. Thank you for coming. Peace. Thank you. We hope you enjoyed the Tai Chi. Thank you for joining me for that workshop. I appreciate it.
Gracias, gracias Yasha por este grandioso taller de Tai Chi. Esperamos que todos hayan podido disfrutar, hayan podido también entender, ¿no? Y bueno, seguimos con...
I'll be sharing Tai Chi also on occasion through our academy. So HeartFire, as we've been mentioning the past couple of days, is a 8 Limbs initiative of World Changes Organization, which is our nonprofit dedicated to peace, the mission of peace, and really inner world peace. So that means inner work for global change and global work for inner change. And we do that focused on 8 different initiatives or primary commitments that we work with. So won't go into those right now, but HeartFire is one of them. HeartFire is kind of one of our main projects. We're actually going to be turning HeartFire Festival, now that we're moving online, into both a podcast and an academy. So we have an academy we're building where people can learn more about all these practices, including the Tai Chi we just got introduced to, if you actually want to learn the whole form, which we haven't even quite started there. If you want to learn more songs with Waida, more breath work with Kenley, and then we'll likely also have elders like Nathaniel and others coming on and sharing teachings with us through the school, and also interviews with various people that we host at HeartFire and beyond that through our YouTube channel, Heart Sparks Radio, which we do ask everybody to subscribe to at this event. So please do subscribe to the channel, support as much as you can, if you can. We do appreciate the help. Any kind of donations help. Our independent donation-based project here that we use to support artists, various indigenous pueblos we work with, elders and teachers that come to our events. So we do really appreciate you being here. We appreciate all of the contributions that people have already made to make this such a successful event. Thank you for all the registrations and people spreading the word. So thank you for that, and we're going to continue with Rabbi Tirza Firestone. Rabbi Tirza is an amazing rabbi and a PhD in psychology. She studied Jungian psychology at Pacifica Graduate Institute, and she was also a core student, like Nathaniel, of Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shalomi, and is a recurring now member that's coming back to teach with us again at HeartFire Festival. So she is, we consider, one of our wisdom keepers and teachers. She was ordained as a rabbi many years ago and lives with her family in Boulder. You can learn more about all the books she's written and work she does in the world by visiting her website or finding her website through heartfirefest.com. So she's going to share just some brief insights with us about her perspective on how to engage the state of affairs in the world today, sprinkling some very meaningful stories and teachings from the Kabbalistic tradition of Jewish mysticism, which she carries and shares. So we hope you enjoy Rabbi Tirza's teachings in just a moment.
Entonces, si ustedes realmente han disfrutado de estos talleres y están interesados en continuar un poco más profundo y constante, pueden contactarnos y así nosotros estamos realmente empezando una academia. Entonces, si están interesados pueden contactarnos. También vamos a estar subiendo videos a nuestro radio HeartSpark Radio en nuestro canal de YouTube. Así que bueno, estén atentos a este canal, suscríbanse. Y así entonces le damos la bienvenida a Rabbi Tirza, una mujer de linaje judeo que va a compartirnos sabiduría sobre el Kabbalah.
Hello, friends. The season, so powerful. You can almost feel the veils between the worlds becoming gossamer thin. And we feel that the unseen realms are wrestling. Here I am in my garden at the end of October, speaking to all of you and joining with you through the magical ethers of the internet. This is a season where we can go beyond the borders of time. It's a season when our ancestors and allies on the other side are more potently present. Their presence is in ours and ours is in theirs. So many cultures know this and show this in their ritual practices. Of course, the celebrations of Dia de los Muertos, the parades in the street and decorations in the cemetery, it's very uplifted, it's joyous. In the Judeo-Christian rituals of All Hallows Eve and All Saints' Day, the Wiccan rituals that are so alive at this time, and the Yiskor rituals in which we call upon the dead. All of these practices acknowledge and honor the Olam Ha'avot, the ancestral plane, as alive, as flourishing, as wanting to make contact with us. So our minds may be trained by our culture to think what you see is what you get, but the spiritual life goes on. It goes on and on, beyond time. And the unseen realms have their own power. So let me be clear, we want to stand strong in this world, which is also coming into a very powerful threshold time, a liminal moment with the elections in just a few days. We want to say definitively, no, we don't want to get stuck in a bardo. We don't want to get stuck in any threshold space. We want and need clear transitions between what has been for the last years and what has taken us down and what we are moving into in the next era. There's a story, a Kabbalistic story, a Hasidic story of a pious man who is dressed in religious finery. He comes to his master, he comes to his Rebbe, a Hasidic master, and he has a kapota and a shtreimel. He's dressed in beautiful satins and a fur hat. And he lays out all kinds of enthusiastic plans before the Rebbe, all manner of ideas, and the Rebbe stops him short and says, "But Wolf, you are dead. You must let go now and go to your new home." Oh, the man is startled. He says, "What, Rebbe, what are you saying? I'm not dead. I'm in the middle of all these things. I'm important. I have so much to accomplish." "Wolf," the Rebbe exclaims again. "Wolf, you are dead." "Prove it to me," he says. "What do you mean I'm dead?" "Just look," and the teacher picks up the hem of his black satin coat. He raises it up to reveal the white death shrouds beneath them. "You see," he says, "it is done. Your life is done. It is time that you make your way now into your new abode." Letting go can be difficult, as we all know. Transitions can be difficult. Sometimes we're at the height of our powers and we feel that we must go on, but we must leave it. We see that in our world, and we must be on hand now to call out the truth, like the Rebbe, to say, no, you are dead, you must move on. And we must know that where we are too, which is in this world firmly, we must know that we are alive without getting caught in the in-between spaces, but be firmly here, grounded and clear-headed, because it's a difficult world, but it is a very extremely important world that we live in. In Kabbalah, the sages teach that there are many dimensions, many worlds, but only in this one dimension here, in this world, that we can affect changes. In no other world can these actual physical evolutions happen. The physical world is called the world of action, and it is here that we have hands to cast our votes, and mouths to speak the truth, and feet to march and protest, and hearts to break open. These things cannot be done. They cannot be accomplished in any other world. So, however powerful RBG is, however great her soul still is, there are things that she can no longer do for us. Only we can do them for ourselves in this world. Having said that, it's also important to say that we can open channels for the assistance of the wise and well beings who have graduated from this earth plane, the bright and benevolent souls on the other side who have messages for us. They want to help. Reb Zalman of blessed memory used to say that the souls on the other side want to help. They have messages to get to us, but we here have to open the doors. We have to turn on the spigots. We have to invite their help. If we are open, we can hear their guidance. If we are open, we can receive their assistance. And then we can be their hands, and we can be their feet and their mouths and their hearts. We can actualize their wishes and augment their goodwill. So, my friends, let's do a practice now that creates a bridge to this invisible realm, the Olam Ha'avot, if you're willing. If you're willing, I'd like to ask you to, wherever you're sitting right now, to lean back, to relax. You can lie down if you like, or sit up, but just let go. If it's useful to you, close your eyes, and in any event, bring your attention inward. Maybe you can hear the wind rustling in the leaves here. You can slow your breathing down. I like to breathe right into the portal of my heart, and I invite you to do the same thing, perhaps to a count of 4 or 5. Inhaling as if you were inhaling right through the door to your heart of hearts, and out to a count of 4 or 5. Feeling the season upon us, feeling the thin veil between us and the beings in the next dimension. Invite to you now an ancestor or a friend, a teacher or a spiritual ally who has left this world. Just see if they want to come, see who wants to come. It might be a grandmother or a namesake, a parent, or even a child who has gone before us. And this line of work, the ancestral healing work, even children are our ancestors once they have departed this world ahead of us. See who wants to come before you, and just let's go one at a time. Ask for a clear image of their face, of their being, someone who you feel and know is wise and well, someone who is bright and benevolent, who wants to help, who is on your team. Bring them in strongly in your mind's eye. Show them where you are in your life right now. Just show them without words. Just say, Hineni, here I am. Look. And this is where I need help. This is how we need help. I'm asking you for your guidance, for your psychic powers, for your assistance. And this could be for my personal choices. It could be for our collective choices. It could be for all that is coming to us in this world in the next weeks. Please help. And simply open your portal to this kind being. And with the ears of your heart, listen. What do they want you to know? What do they need you to hear that would benefit you? Now, there may be somebody else that's lingering. Open your aperture to see who that is, lingering in the margins, the periphery. See who that is and bring them in now. Another soul. As long as this soul is loving, as long as this soul is bright and benevolent, once again, bring them fully before you. Show them where you are. Show them how you are. Show them your particulars, your dilemma, your question, any controversy that you feel, any place that you need help. And to this kind and benevolent soul, give your ear, give your heart. And listen well. Sometimes it will come in words, and sometimes it is simply a feeling that envelops us. But if there is something specific that you must do, please ask for that. If there is direct, particular guidance, be open to that too. And with your next breath, receive. Receive strength. Receive the empowerment. Receive the confidence coming to you, the love and the good wishes, the goodwill that's coming to you from this invisible realm. As if you could surround yourself in it, create a capsule of protection, empowerment, health, vitality, with the goodwill of your ancestors on the other side. Some people say, I have no ancestors, or I can't reach my ancestors, and some people have more difficulty. So if that's your case, and it's not easy for everybody, remember that our ancestors are also the great beings of this earth plane that we have known. They're historical figures. Perhaps they're biblical figures. Perhaps they're the great masters, Sufi masters or rabbis, the Kabbalists, or the great Tibetan lamas who have walked this earth. Perhaps it is Martin Luther King Jr. or Rosa Parks or Gandhi, Mother Teresa, the Baal Shem Tov. It can be a historical figure as well. It's said that any great being who is called in earnest will come to you from the other side of the universe, will reconstellate into the being that you have called to help, when called for help in earnest. So who is it that you emulate, that you can call in during this season when the veils are so thin? It's not weak, but strong to ask for help, especially when the time is ripe. So breathing in deeply, my friend. See yourself in your mind's eye now bowing to this invisible plane, bowing in reverence and honor to the ancestor that has come to you, to the spiritual ally who has configured him or herself to come to you. And with your next 3 breaths, would you wiggle your toes? Would you rub your hands together? Make some heat with your hands. Place them on your face or at your heart or at your belly. And come fully back into view. Fully back onto this earth plane, this beautiful month, as the leaves are released, as old patterns are released, as old patterns from our particular lives as well as our collective lives, patterns and people. May the ancestors from the next dimension, may all the great powers be with us as we thread this needle, as we walk through this liminal state that we're in now. Don't forget to vote. It's so important. And take best care of yourself.
Wow, thank you so much, Rabbi Tirza Firestone, Dr. Tirza Firestone. It's so good to have you. You're an inspiration and definitely resonate with being both a student of Rabbi Zalman's lineage and a student of the Jungian lineage at Pacifica Graduate Institute in the same doctoral program as you. So it's interesting to me having so many connections to your path and my life journey, as a young person now. So thank you for inspiring us with what you shared and, for bringing different perspectives to the festival. We're going to continue now with a little poetry from a member of our Sufi community, Connor Marvin, as an interlude. He'll be doing some spoken word presentations, and after that we'll go into teachings and zikr practice with Pir Natanel. So we hope you enjoy Connor's poetry, and we'll see you very soon.
Gracias a Rabbi Tirza por compartir esta sabiduría. Entonces le damos la bienvenida en este momento a Connor, que va a compartir un poco de poesía con nosotros. Bienvenido, Connor, y espero que disfruten.
Hey, this is Connor Marvin. I'm going to read some poems for you. I'm so glad that I'm here. I'm so glad that you're here. I got some things. So this first one I'm going to read was inspired by a dream that I had, where in the dream I was sort of looking, I was like moving over different places in the earth at different points in time. And one of the places I kind of zoomed in on was Spain, February 27th. And in the dream, in the world of the dream, every February 27th in Spain, they held what was called the Festival of Missing the Sea, which was a ritualized celebration or kind of mourning of longing for the ocean, of feeling that that pull towards the ocean. So this is the Festival of Missing the Sea. Tide pulse pulls at the loud edges. Somewhere far away there's a fair cliff, seagull cry, vacant strand, barnacle blistered and salt green rocking. Morning floods across the endless ocean to find the forests ripe in ecstatic prayer, the trees and birds all singing to the dawn. What would the world look like if we were all awake? An anchor drops in me, illuminates the slow snow below. What wreck is here? What sunken thing? Who put this here? Schools of fish fractal dance through the skeletons of my deep mind. Turtles pirouette between monasteries of dreaming jellyfish. A perfect sunrise could bloom from my impossible gate, twin megaliths framing hot dawn. The stars in me whisper an ocean of destiny, a depth of sunken murmur, la mer, la mer. The sea mother speaks in 1,000 slow whale sirens wailing, salt tears tearing a crack in the sky through the moon. Neither sea nor moon have ever called anyone lazy. They recline dark, candle-lit bathtub, nude everywhere, a halo inside a slick black stone, thick with brine and sweat. We gather in the castle with cool silver in our blood and a soulful psalm on our lips. We miss her. We moan, we ache, we beg, reach long for her. She is miles away and groaning under the weight of our poison, covered with single-use convenience. Our petrochemical exhale drags at her giant body, weep for the ocean. We lucid dream in rainbows shimmering through her dark womb. She dreams of us awake. The natural state of everything but us is prayer. We alone stand atop the soapbox of our free will with confetti coming out our mouth, plastic confetti. It gets everywhere. We are clogging the cracks that let the light in, insatiably scrambling to fill our house with garbage. We dream of oceanic language. In order to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. You are not alone. When they ask who built that, list the names of every laborer, the names of the animals whose labor in death fed them, the names of their mothers, the secret names of the land that poured up to hold their sleeping form, and rivers that quenched them, whose water fills the spaces between the cells that work together to make each hammer swing, the names of every blade of grass that held their feet. Only God can make an apple pie from scratch. My tongue is the miracle that the ocean can make with a single drop of sunshine. The sea waits patient for the day when we fulfill our destiny, when every human realizes our collective connection, when we awake, lucid, and join everything else in prayer. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. The face that you had before the world was made. You were old before you ever had a name. Paradise is our birthright, and damned be any who stand in the way of love. Remember who you are. Remember who you are. Thank you. This next poem I wrote in 2016, and I used to print this poem out, and I would go all around and leave copies of it at bus stops and at cafes and even in the middle of the sidewalk. And I would do this every year since 2016 on the spring equinox, the first day of spring. It's a poem about hope. It's a love letter to the earth. It's called Every Winter Ends. Something about a springtime. Something in the way a shoe dangles, and the foot in it, and the leg swinging over the edge of a precipice of precision bent on fabricating linen scripture, altruistic misfits hanging legs off the cliff. Above, here we are. Green grass and souls ablaze, tender neon ferns uncurling, a giggle stuck echo in a dewdrop ricocheting off the inside of surface tension in Earth's holy sweat. Below, anything. Could be anything. Maybe jagged, maybe 1,000 red balloons spelling out war is over. Maybe a mirror reflecting the souls of our souls dangling over the ledge. The point is, across the drop, there's a horizon. And over the horizon is whatever we want it to be. Something about a springtime. Something in the way she smiles. I mean, every feminine expression, the turn of a page, the smoke from a cigarette or coffee cup, the smell of the compost heap. The rot that comes alive this time of year, letting everyone know she makes use of everything. The earth, she flexes and stretches and gently and blossoms and bloom like gutters flush with rain and a breeze in every hair. I stretch or bloom and give accidental birth to a horizon in perfect three-point perspective. Sometimes I worry that this world has given up on whimsy. But then a springtime comes around like a whirligig of revolutionary love, and nobody gets to vote on that. No fascist cabinet's gonna take the flowers from my hair, and if they try to take them from yours, you've given me the strength to, like Gandhi said, be the fist I want to see in a Nazi's face. But today is a day for looking at the sky. Today, I love you like the universe loves complexity, a rushing momentum from a world of pure hydrogen to bonding and combining from a sea of life seed, that swarming ocean of single-celled God flesh, sprinting forward through a primate's orgasm, tracing my family tree from the Big Bang to slam into my heaving body in this moment here, where today I love you like the universe loves complexity. Like evolution loves solving problems. I believe in evolution. I think buried in the raw data of the rules of the universe is where God is found. Abstract information spiraling fractals of light, the unity contained in the parts. If anything can be said about God, it's that God loves a colorful patchwork. God loves the smell of rot in the springtime and graffiti on underpass cement and ungovernable flowers bursting through asphalt. I love you like the universe loves complexity, like every experience I had stretching back to the Big Bang led me to you, everyone I loved before you, the ones I said dangerous things like forever to, compared me perfectly for this moment, dangling feet over the edge of the event horizon. Draw a circle around yourself. This space is sacred. Everything that enters comes to teach. God is a circle whose center is everywhere. Take the solitary point of your heart, stretch it infinitely in both directions. Look how, if stretched to infinity, it becomes a circle. This space is sacred, the heart, a universe pumping complexity through capillary skies flush with bloody love, something about a springtime. Sometimes I worry that this world's given up on whimsy, but nobody gets to vote on joy. Nobody gets to vote on love. I'm going to read one more poem for you. Those first two that I read are from Schrodinger's Mantra. It's available places where you can get books on the internet. I'd love for you to have a copy. This next one, I wrote, it all kind of poured out of me in in the space of maybe an hour. In an airport in California. Last year on my birthday, I flew to California to go to my grandfather's funeral. And after going to his funeral and spending some time at the ocean for the first time in years, I was in the airport waiting to come back to Colorado and wrote this. In defense of happy tree poems, sound off in the comments whether or not you think beauty is valuable anymore. What did beauty ever do for you? What did nature ever do for you? Writing about the sublime beauty of nature is not the reason people are suffering. Greed is. Colonial rational humanism. Scientific materialism, the Hegelian dialectic, the colonial gaze is that which renders everything an object, othered, untamed commodity, puts the Amazon rainforest on a scale, and glowing dollar signs roll like the wheel of fortune, neon green. The tree, in its catastrophic elegance, offers a counterpoint. The joy of the writer offers a way out. Colonial capitalism exists in direct opposition to the natural. Feudalism was at least ecological. Feudalism did not bring the earth to the brink of mass extinction. What is real? What is news? What has literal value? That is economic. What does this do? 1,000 brutal facts vie for top shelf atrocity. This is real. Rub my face in the gravel, eyes open. It will kill you, this tree. Don't make eye contact. It might just pull your head up from your swipe, scroll, shut me off and pump me full of news, tragedy, fear, sex. I'm holding on to the second hand of the countdown clock tower. Each click brings me closer or further from heaven. Everything depends on perspective. Whose eyes? I want to kill you. Try me first. Bring your sharpened steel, your brazen claws, ribbon me right here in the mud. Time lapses, my cells collapse. I fill with worms and beetles, mold, and my data billows. Like ink into water through the earth, I become the meadow. Let's kill each other. I want to show you the tree that ends your identification with the center and not the circumference. God, if I could give my eyes to the oil barons, I'd swear they'd claw them out with their bare hands at the sight of what they had done. Problem solved. I didn't grow these myself, though. I was given them by my father, the rain battering the outside of the tent, the hour-and-a-half drives to the mountains, the shush of our skis, the crackle of snow on power lines, the dense silence crowding mounded canvas landscape by my mother and her gardening despite her allergies. I was given these eyes by Rumi and Rilke. The Quran is only a translation of the celestial mother book, every thread in the tapestry of nature teeming with prophecy. Every leaf buzzing with the mystery of unity. Every angel is terrifying. And beauty is nothing but the beginning of terror. Beauty knows it could kill you, but chooses not to. Now I want to kill you. I want to kill the oil baron inside me and the smirking academic. I want to be angelic. Looks can kill. Beauty can annihilate you. The abyss will gaze back into you. I hope one day to die inside a poem about a tree, about what is so easy to habitually just glance past. A miracle in motion bores us. Give us entertainment or give us death. Give us death. Before I die, I want to die. Not just for practice, to exhale all that does not ultimately matter, which is most things. To have a flash, a lightning strike calling home to the real. A poem about a tree is a death poem. The horrible delicacy of it all, the mirror, the well-documented healing impact of nature on trauma. So why chop at your own roots, as if the natural, original state of humanity is anything other than staring, childlike, reduced to ashes at the mere sight of a tree, housed in the abscess under silhouette pillows. She cages the lightning. Her jaws flux, her eyelids shatter. Pastel, the piece to dream your own childhood back alive and survived. I wish for 1,000 wishes. Would spend each one asking the angels to draw the pupils wide. Really look at this tree. Let it kill you. Let it kill the oil baron and the smirking academic inside you. Rot. Have the guts to imagine utopia. Blindfold yourself and run naked through the woods. Maybe the reason we name hurricanes after people is so we can imagine them manageable, like pets. I have spoken of death as annihilation, but my grandfather has been stuffed into a hole in the wall and come out as ashes. They are in a box, in a bag, in an armoire in my grandmother's bedroom in a retirement community in Northern California. I have spoken of death as annihilation. Now, my feet drink the cold, dark Pacific for the first time in half a decade, and I am toppled. The smile in me breaks all my ribs. My jeans are soaked. I am the only one in the water. The atom in me retakes paradise. Wish you were here. I wish I were naked here in the salt and foggy coast. Claws of froth paw at bits of crab. This is where the heave comes alive inside me. I mean, the ocean is inside me and it kills to be so far away, aware it kills me now, falling like a surrounded king, cracking as I hit the chessboard. I give up. There are thoughts that save and thoughts that kill. And which will you grow in your garden? And what is death? Where now is your sting? Who placed this prize? Who set the rabbit at the end of this run that we now barrel towards from the starting gun, snarling, salivating at the thought. And in that final moment where we catch it in our jaws, growl, draw infinity signs in the air as the audible cracking of bones trembles our fangs, we are completed and annihilated. Albert Einstein said that the only question that matters is whether we live in a friendly universe or a hostile one. Mushroom cloud reflecting in the heartbroken pupils of a child. Sunlight, forest, ash, forest, sunlight. There is a thread, a line that draws things together. Draw me a picture of a better world. What I mean is, draw me a picture and it makes the world better. God drew the bowstring trembling back and shot you straight through the heart of this world. The blazing hole you left in your wake is still a highway used by golden angels. You pierced the bullseye at the center of the quantum mystery. If we are all to die, what better army to have at my side? I wish I had a better memory because I smell the breath of God on your words that slip through the harbor of your lips casually, as if by accident. I wish only to dilate the aperture that lets beauty in. Beauty is woven on the loom of sight, beholder and beheld, tangled up in thread. Are you as free as you look to my eyes? My grandfather's ashes will sit in an armoire for months. Decades ago, he picked his burial plot in the motherland, County Cork, Ireland, small town parish, the well my blood was drawn up from. Plane tickets will be bought. A genetic branch will constellate back into the ground that bears the bones that built us. Another son of Aaron returned to her, left in a ship, came back in an urn. Now tell me of an oak tree. The English cut every tree in Ireland to build the navy that defiled the planet. Her population never recovered the famine. A quarter of her starved to death in only 4 years. Now let me tell you of an oak tree. When the Christians came with sword and flame, they cut the sacred groves that stood for centuries. Now let me tell you of an oak tree. Let me tell you how that an oak tree can kill you if you look at it right. If you let it, look at it right. Let me tell you of how to die before you die. Practice looking, retake paradise, storm heaven. Let me tell you of the emptying of the forests of Ireland, the emptying of the Amazon. Let me tell you of the eyes that empty, the empty eyes, and the eyes that fill. Heart blood pierced like diamond-tipped crucible, choking the moment. We are viral and mimetic. We trend and fall to the bottom of the digital ashtray. Who will you reach for? When heaven's ragged voice cries your final name. Now let me tell you of an oak tree, muttering in the perfect fog for centuries, overlooking a graveyard in County Cork, Ireland, small town parish. Let me tell you of the wisdom of peasants. Let me sing to you of the ways seasons cling at my blood, and how this taught me who to love, and how, like a tree that loses everything easily, faith that spring will come again, let go, like heaven empties its pockets, and in the jingle of glittering stars, lets another of Aaron's sons pass back into the great womb at the center of everything. May we all follow, hand in hand. May we grow old, watching the trees, writing useless words like we always have. Peasants in the arms of God.
Thank you, Connor Marvin, for sharing your poetry with us at HeartFire Festival. I've always been a huge fan. Such an impressive delivery, as always. It's very good to have you here with us today. Next up, we are going to dive into some deeper teachings about Sufism with Pure Nathanael Miles Yepes, who you all met on the first day. If you missed it, you can go back in the previous 2 videos. And definitely going to go a little deeper this time and then practice just an introduction to a Sufi meditation called Zikr, which means remembrance, and which Nathanael will share all about.
Entonces le damos la bienvenida a Netano, un gran y especial amigo de HeartFire Festival y realmente de nuestra comunidad. Va a compartir Zikr, que significa recordar, ¿no? El recordar. Entonces esperamos que puedan recibirlo en sus corazones de una buena manera, en un buen camino. Gracias.
In Sufism, the primary practice we do is called dhikr, or for English speakers, zikr. The word means remembrance, and it's just that. It's a practice of trying to bring ourselves into remembrance all the time, remembering God, remembering our highest values, remembering what we want to be about. And for Sufis, that is the one idea of spirituality, like to remember how you're wanting to live and what you want in the forefront of your life. And so that practice is very much a mantric practice, to load and keep in consciousness those things that we want most in consciousness. We usually do this practice in a circle called a halka, which literally means a ring of practitioners sitting in a circle, and very much like a wedding ring or a wedding band, it's a symbol of our intimacy and commitment, that ring, that circle, that halka. Today, of course, we can't quite do it that way. And so we're doing it in this beautiful setting. Many zikrs in the past used to happen in a setting like this, where we were as much communing with nature as with one another, and feeling ourselves bound in the circle of life and the seasons. And so today we can think of it as doing it like that. Coming into that circle is to enter a ritual space. A circle is a ritual space, where you move from ordinary reality in which you're worried about bills or errands that you have to do later in the day. It is to intentionally exit that space and come into what you might say in Latin, in illo tempore time, at that time, in that season, coming into mythic time, as it were. That's where ritual happens. And so we enter into the ritual of zikr on purpose, usually with an invocation. The geese are funny in the background. They want to participate. But the invocation that we come into with is a sign of moving from one reality into another. And I was thinking this morning about how important this really is. Like in our culture, even those of us who do regular spiritual practice still do it according to the dictates of the culture in which we're trying to escape in some ways. So when are you going to fit your meditation in? Well, I'm going to fit it in between this and that. And we often enter it very much in the way we go to the grocery store. This is like, oh, I'm going to push that in, I'm going to sit down, do it. And we forget that if we don't enter that space differently, then the experience itself is conditioned by the ordinary world. And in some ways, the practice becomes more like what we're trying to escape. And so you have to do it in such a way that you say, I'm stepping out of that ordinary time and into extraordinary time. And that takes usually an invocation, a stopping what was going on, what you were doing, what you were thinking, and stepping into a moment that you're declaring as special. The word contemplation means, it's an intensive added to the word templum. Templum is a demarcated space, a space marked out as special. And then the kon is the intensive of that. And so it's to enter a space very directly and with a sense of importance that this place in time is where I'm going to do deep inner work. And so we mark that with this invocation. In my lineage of Sufism, we tend to do this in a specific way, with hands on the chest, kind of making a winged heart, and lifting the head to the sky, and as it comes down we say, this is not my body. And we turn the chin to the left shoulder and we let the head drift and lull across the chest and we say, this is the temple of the heart. And then we begin with the prayer toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty. The only being united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the spirit of guidance. And when you do that slowly and with deep intention, it's as if you've walked over a threshold into another space, and you can feel the difference. And then you're ready for practice. Now, what is the practice of zikr? We come into that space to do a particular remembrance. It's like we want to plant a seed that we hope will sprout and grow and in the world outside of our demarcated space, outside of our ritual. We plant the seed in our ritual so that it grows in our life, in the ordinary world, which hopefully we make extraordinary by these things, by these acts. And the thing that we do is dhikr, or zikr. And in every Sufi lineage, there's a way of doing the zikr that is distinct to that lineage. Almost all of us use the same phrase for our main practice of remembrance. And that phrase is La ilaha illallah, which, you may recognize as the creedal statement, the basic creedal statement of Islam. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. Which in pre-Islamic Arabia was understood in a very clear context, because pre-Islamic Arabia was polytheistic. And so to say there is no God but God was a kind of a revolution within the culture to say, oh, it's not all these many competing gods related to this rock outcropping or that river over which we fight, but there's just one God, under whose umbrella we all stand and are sheltered. And so it was a great revolution in consciousness in the Arabian Peninsula. There is no God but God. Yet among Sufis there's the understanding that was only one level of meaning. That the Prophet Muhammad taught another dimension of the practice to his inner disciples. And that other meaning, it's so loud here right now. I'm going to give them a little bit of space, it's great. What is the mantra that the geese are calling out? What is their primary remembrance? It's probably really mundane. The meaning that Sufis bring into this phrase, La ilaha illallah, and which we carry as a secret transmission or an inner transmission through the centuries from the Prophet Muhammad, who we believe taught his close disciples like Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Abu Bakr, is that the inner dimension of the phrase La ilaha illallah, there's no God but God, is that there's nothing but divinity. No God but God. There's nothing but divinity. Everywhere you look, everything is divine. We also say among Sufis that the phrase has both an important negation and affirmation. That for us, the phrase La ilaha, the first words of the phrase La ilaha mean there's no God or no God. And then it's followed by illallah. Nevertheless, God. There is no God, nevertheless, God. And this is a kind of realistic assessment of the reality in which we live and factoring the totality of our experience. And one part of that experience for us, and for most of us, most of the time, is this La ilaha. There's no God. And we try to be honest about that. The idea that there's no God, it's something that's in the face of our reality all the time, because we so much want there to be that God. The God that we can call out to, the God that we can see, the God with whom we can have a personal relationship. And there are moments in our lives where that seems absolutely necessary, because the kind of help that we want doesn't seem to be available. But as we learn over time, and we've learned through the centuries, that the God that we once thought was out hiding behind the moon, peeking over the stars, not through a telescope, we don't find that God. Nor through a microscope. And so there's a certain kind of acknowledgement of our objective reality as we conceive it scientifically, of like the thing that we can explore and know by demonstration, that God doesn't seem to exist. No matter how hard we look, we don't seem to be able to find that God. And whether we acknowledge it or not, there's a tremendous disappointment in that. And so Sufis quite honestly say, La ilaha, there is no God. Almost in a Buddhist way, acknowledging that it's not very relevant to keep looking for that particular God. Own it, know it. On the other hand, that's only acknowledging what most of us experience. And it wouldn't make for much of a spiritual path, nor is it the complete statement. La ilaha illallah is how it continues. So as Sufis see it, it's not a period at the end of La ilaha, there's no God. It's a semicolon. There is no God, illallah. Nevertheless, God. So having acknowledged the lack of a God in our objective reality, we cannot deny that for so many of us, there is a God in our subjective reality. Nevertheless, God. And that's a God that can't be taken from you, that can't be denied, or at least not without denying something very, very important within. So, where is this subjective God? The subjective God is in our internal experience. This is the God of those. This is the God of Thoreau, who experiences God in nature. This is the God of those who have had the holy catastrophe of a mystical experience in the middle of their ordinary life, which then ruined their ordinary life and led them on a rather extraordinary path. These are moments of encountering the sacred which do not factor in our ordinary experience in any way that seems reasonable and well-adjusted. They break that reality. And a lot of people think that that they don't know sacred. What's that? I don't even know what you mean when you say the word sacred. And I think that's not true. And I think mystics are not that rare. I think human beings have a capacity for a level of experience that they don't know how to deal with, but which happens in a fairly ordinary way all the time. Little breakthroughs in consciousness that they don't have a place for and tend to dismiss. But sometimes they come through in ways that we can't dismiss. And so, for those things, we tend to label them sacred. But even more so, there are things that we all know that are sacred, and they are values, which to break with them or to break one's word in a given situation feel as if they will diminish one's soul. Those things are held sacred. Or anything that we consider precious. I always like to use the example of, you walk into a party and someone hands you a newborn child and you almost tremble with the responsibility of holding this thing which is too precious to drop or even to hold without care. Those things that are that precious are sacred. They include the kind of intimacy that belongs to our love relationships. When you're aware of the moment in which a person is revealing something terribly vulnerable to you, and you tremble with the responsibility of it. And often we fail in that, but we know how sacred the moment is. So I think we do know sacred. And so what the phrase La ilaha illallah does is it allows for the totality of our experience. And what we so often encounter in talk of religion and secularity is that secularity will only seem to acknowledge, a scientific materialism, which is often very reductive, which I would say is bad science. If it gets reductive and reduces the possibilities, not acknowledging that there are possibilities that we haven't witnessed or don't understand, then that would be a kind of reductive scientism rather than science. And so what our secularity often does is goes with one aspect of our experience and refuses to factor the subjective level in which we have breakthroughs in consciousness of things that don't factor well in that secularity. And then we often associate that with religion. And the religion wants to only honor the extraordinary. And this is the problem between this polarity of secularism and religion. True spirituality honors both aspects of our experience. That we have the pain of reaching out to a God that we can't touch and who sometimes doesn't seem to answer. And that's a very real part of our experience. And it is to be honored. And sometimes religion doesn't seem to honor it. Oh, just have faith. Yeah, but I got pain. And I've got real problems and God doesn't seem to be helping with them. That's valid to say. And so the deeper levels of spiritual practice, in our more esoteric traditions, want to honor both of these things. And so if we want, as Sufis, to have one repeating phrase which changes our consciousness and puts a kind of useful filter on the way in which we experience reality, we want it to be this filter that repeats this mantra that repeats in our heads and also creates an overlay in consciousness where we see there is no God, nevertheless God. There is no God, nevertheless God. There's nothing but divinity. That divinity is often hidden from us, but that's merely a barrier of consciousness. It's with us whether we acknowledge how sacred and precious this earth is. We can deal with it, as Martin Buber put it, in an I-it fashion. You know, I am I, and everything else is it. And that's basically utility mode. Everything is utility to my I. But we do know that we also have the experience, often unexpected, that is like this very moment right now, where this breeze is passing and there's the sound of the wind passing through the leaves. And at this very moment, I'm filled with such gratitude for how extraordinary it all is. And you see, it's merely a switch in consciousness. That is always present. But I tend to view this in utilitarian terms so much of the time. And then I'm missing its thou-ness. That's what the other phrase that Buber would use. We can move from I-it to I-thou, acknowledging all of its uniqueness and wholeness and sovereignty over against us with which we participate. And so, between La ilaha and illallah, we factor both the I-it and the I-thou. Buber had this expression for faith. He didn't like to use the word faith because faith in Hebrew, emunah, the word emunah, isn't so locked the way we use the word faith. We use the word faith and it sounds like a noun, like a thing. Faith is a thing, like I've got faith, I keep it in a box and I get it out every once in a while. But emunah in Hebrew, that word faith, actually means something more like faithing. It's a verb. Faith is a thing that you do. It's a way of investing. And so he tended to use the expression for faith, instead of saying faith, he used the expression holy insecurity. Holy insecurity. That, and this is for that other side of the phrase, illallah, nevertheless God. We have an experience which is personal to us, which is holy and sacred, but it's not something I can demonstrate to you, no more than I can demonstrate that I'm in love. I feel it, I can't deny it to myself, but I can't prove it to you. Therefore, it's holy and insecure. It's an insecure knowledge. It's insecure because I can't demonstrate it. So, this is like, we factor the testimony of our real experience of not finding God, and we factor the inner testimony of finding something sacred. Sometimes the word God gets in the way. Something sacred. And so this we anchor in over and over in the zikr. And then we come into the practice of it. And so I'll move down to kneel so I can demonstrate this a little better. The preamble is kind of important because, I mean, you can take different attitudes to practice. You can say, you can just trust that if I say the words, you know, the words will have an impact on me. And if I say them in a language and I trust that that's sacred, it's going to have its sacred impact. And I believe that that's true in many ways. But that requires you to have already an understanding that the practice that people have done through 1400 years of the Sufi tradition of zikr and saying those words over and over has created an echo through time and an energetic magnetism that is attracted to and held by those words. But I don't think anybody needs to come with such ideas. In fact, that's not often where we start. We're starting from our place of doubt. And so it's also important to have an understanding of the conscious content of the words you're going to be saying. And so we start with this kind of understanding. What is this phrase? This phrase, La ilaha illallah, there's nothing but divinity. There is no God, nevertheless God. And we marry that meaning to the words, and then we express it in the way this tradition has expressed it through the centuries, in the hopes that there is a kind of magnetism, there is a kind of accumulation of energy, knowing that we're participating in a pattern that thousands upon thousands upon thousands of individuals have participated in for 1,000 years. And trust that there's that body of support for doing this in this way. So getting into that understanding is important, and then holding it in some sense while you're doing the practice. The geese are unruly. Need to get them into the circle. In each Sufi lineage, now, I'll talk about this as Sufi zikr, but in every Sufi lineage, we do it a little bit differently. In this lineage, we break La ilaha illallah into 4 parts. And we do those parts in accord with 4 different movements. The first movement, starting with the chin pointed to the left shoulder, and then dropping down, almost as if you're allowing the weight of your torso to take you down, drifting over and up over the right shoulder and to the sky is the first movement. And that's La ilaha. La ilaha, there is no God. And symbolically in my lineage, the Chishti lineage, we see that as the external search for God. La ilaha, there is no God. So this movement out and down and up is the looking for God. And there's a certain poignance to the way that it's said. La ilaha. Almost with an ache. And the ache is for the not finding of God in the external world. I always think of it like that old country song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places, We're looking for it, for God and external validation and love outside of ourselves all the time. It's always going to lead to disappointment. And so it's said with an ache. La ilaha. There is no God. But then, that is the prelude to discovery. Because if there's any value to the pain that we experience in life and the heartbreak, it's that it tends to make us reflective, contemplative, Pain sends you inward. And if there's value to it, I think it is in that inward journey that it begins. So La ilaha. And there's a heartbreak in that. And then the second movement is Illa. Down. Down and in. It's like we descend into our hearts, even deeper, into our bellies, where so much emotion is held. And the word is Illa, nevertheless. And so we move from the external search to the inward journey. And we move to the inward journey because the external search didn't work out well. And we go in, And we spend enough time in there, whether it's in therapeutic process, whether it's in a practice like this. If you go inside, then we discover something often. And that leads to the third movement of the zikr. So we have the first, La ilaha, there is no God. Driving us inward, the pain driving us inward, illah. Then inward, in that contemplation, in that reflection, in that inward discovery, there is something we discover of ourselves, our own beauty, our own value, even our own idea of what God should be. Like, the God we usually go looking for is usually a God we've heard about. Somebody else's God, somebody else's description. But when we go inside, we discover what we're looking for, what we want to be. Because so much of what our gods are really God ideals. You know, I'm looking for a God that does this, that provides this, that is like this, which is like a mother, which is like a beloved, which is like a king. You know, those are all archetypes. And often those are given to us externally, like, so much Bible language is of God as king. But that may not be the God that is needed in the heart. And when we're in here, we often discover that thing that says, a lot of my life hasn't worked out, not the way I wanted it or the way I thought it would. And now that I'm looking around, and I'm amid the rubble of my life, and I'm looking around in here, and I'm like, I'm not sure those were my goals. Those might have been goals that belonged to my father, or my mother, or a school teacher. My goals are these, actually. And in some ways, that kind of ideal that is discovered in there for your own life is also your God ideal. It's as if that ideal that comes from within is projected to the level of perfection. And at the level of perfection, that's kind of what we want from God. And so, there is no God in the external world and the external search. The pain drives me inward. Inward, I discover what I really want to be, which is reflected in my God ideal. And there's so much joy in that discovery that we're buoyed up. There's like an explosion of energy that takes us up, almost in exaltation. And we come up with the word La, God. So there is no God, La ilaha, illa, nevertheless, La, God. And it's that God ideal. But it's still a God ideal. It's an archetype. It's a projection of our inner reality, which is a good, true thing. But in the end, it's still a projection. It's still an ideation. We haven't discovered God in experience yet. And that in Sufism we say is only discovered in the heart. So coming out of this exaltation, we feel magnetically drawn down to the heart. So the head goes up, and then we finish with a kind of extension of the last H on La, God. And Sufis now turn the extension of that H into the word Hu. We come down, Hu, in the heart. And Hu is a word that means, literally means he. But among Sufis, it's a funny sort of word because it actually stands for the divine feminine, which is the experiential presence of God. And so this word he, Hu, actually stands for this feminine presence of God, which is only discovered in the heart. And so we come from our exaltation over our ideation of what God should be, and then we come into the experience of God in our heart. Who? So in many ways, it's like saying, there is no God. Nevertheless, God is right here. And in some ways you say the words and you have to wait for the experience, that often comes through the practice, a breakthrough in consciousness where we experience the more extraordinary I-thou reality, the extraordinariness of how things actually are when I'm not filtering them through my I-it utility mind. And we do this enough to break through. And so it's a wonderful thing how the movements articulate the entire spiritual path. We're born not through our own choosing. We're born into a world, and there's a great moment of discovery. Like I can't go back far enough to remember, but it's probably a rude awakening, and also magnificent with wonder. But pretty much very much as we learn to walk, we pretty much stumble out into life as children and as teenagers especially, and even as young adults, we're stumbling into life, one thing happening after another, and we're just trying to adjust the whole time, playing catch up. And at a certain moment, we come into an awareness like, often because it's not working out the way we like, we come into an awareness where we think, I can either keep doing this on accident, or I can stop a minute and start doing this life on purpose. And that's the moment that's associated with La ilaha, there's no God. I've hit the wall. I need to do something on purpose. I need to look at things differently. And then we go inward. It drove us inward. And then in through that process, that work, that inner work, whether it's therapeutic work, whether it's work on a spiritual path, and the two are not mutually exclusive, they can be done together, we come up with some notion of how we should be living, and then we can come into an experience of vitality, of authentic living. And so the movements that you're doing suggest the entire spiritual journey. The words that you're saying are backing it up. And now we bring it together in a practice of saying the words, remembering the meaning, actually doing something expressive with our bodies somatically and bringing them into involvement, because our body holds so much of our emotion. In some ways, we can't even release all of the emotion that is stuck in our bodies without moving it. And here we bring it together with the story of our lives, the story of our pain, the story of our possibility. And we do it again and again, usually for Sufis, for at least a round of 99 times on a set of beads that is called a tesbih. And tesbih is a word that basically means glorifier, tool of glorification. Glorifying God, remembering God in our lives. And so perhaps we'll just do a short practice together, and this is something, if you have enough sense of what we've talked about, then you can do this in your daily life. And I don't think you have to feel ashamed about trying on a spiritual practice. You don't need an initiation for it. For other levels of practice or intentionally entering a spiritual path, perhaps initiation is necessary, because very much like a marriage, it requires a kind of commitment that is important to do in a formal way. But perhaps now we can just do a little together, and you can try it on and see how it feels, and know that this is just kind of a minimum what we're doing. And you can do it longer, again, usually 99 times, and there are 99 beads on this tesbih. representing the Asmaul Husna, the 99 beautiful names of God of the Sufi tradition, of the Islamic tradition also. And so let's just do these together and trying to remember, though not absolutely necessary, the meaning associated with the movements. The words, and saying them well, and saying them connected to that meaning. Meaning the first part, La ilaha, with a slight investment of the ache that you know that you feel over many things. Then illa, the almost tired drop into reflection. There's a weariness in it. And then La, God, with the exaltation that you feel in discovery. La. And then the deeper resonant Hu, coming into the heart, that is. And so let's do 33 together. And just be aware of your own process and realize there's no necessity to do this perfectly. I don't know what that means either. But starting at the left shoulder. And it's important to hinge at the waist and not do it with your neck because it can be hard on your neck. So allow yourself to hinge at the waist and drop bodily down. So starting at the left shoulder, we start with La ilaha illa, dropping down. La, coming up in exaltation. Then dipping to the heart. Hu. Then arcing back up to the left shoulder again. La ilaha illa la hu. 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 La ilaha illallahu. 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 Never get up from your practice too quickly. Bask in that last moment. It's often in that moment, just in the absence of the words, that there's the most content. It's not word content. It's not necessarily a feeling in your body. It's something other. A presence, a beingness. And you should always allow yourself to experience it, almost gathering it in a ladle to take out of the practice. And if you experience that in any degree, you should realize that we did the shortest amount of zikr that any Sufi would do, just 33. We would usually do 99. And in most Sufi contexts, often practicing into the hundreds, if not the thousands of repetitions. And you can get a sense of how that would magnify the effect over time. And you would discover that there are different thresholds of practice, barriers to get through, indeed, some boredom to get through, and falling away into distraction and then coming back in. That's all part of the greater practice and process. Ultimately, what's desired in doing a little longer practice than what we did is to create a kind of flywheel in consciousness, because a spiritual practice is a spiritual technology. It's something we do intending it to work to a certain end. And in spiritual practice, nobody's asking you to do something that isn't going to work, or just to act as if it did work. These are technologies that through the centuries we find do work. And the spiritual technology of a mantric practice is to create that flywheel in consciousness. So that if you've done this 99 times with clear and deep intention and presence and awareness, on the end of it, or perhaps at some point in the practice, you might find that even the words fall away. Maybe you even stop moving. But something is repeating in consciousness. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah is still repeating even though your lips have stopped moving. And that's the desired effect in many ways. It's not the only desired effect. I mean, there is a beingness that we want to build relationship to. But think about the practical value of building into awareness the repetition of the words, "There's nothing but divinity." Especially as we end our practice, when we step up out of it and we re-enter the world of relationship with our partners or going to work, entering into any social situation where we meet that reality and are often annoyed by it, frankly. But now, running in your head, wherever you're looking, and whoever you're looking at, is there's nothing but divinity. There's nothing but divinity. There's nothing but divinity. Now, there are implications for behavior. One thing, if you're very unconscious and you think so-and-so is just a separate being, and is being a jerk. But now if the jerk has the label of God on them, or the person who cut you off in traffic is now labeled there's nothing but divinity, now there's an interpretive awareness that's at work that says, well, what are the implications for my behavior if everything is God? If that person is God, showing me an ugly face, a persona, a mask, then maybe I should look through the mask to the divinity. And so a good practice does have implications for behavior after the practice. In fact, we train for the race, A runner gets up every morning and runs their miles, not to run the miles, but so that on the day of the race, they have the capacity to make it to the finish line. We do our practice now, in these cultivated environments, so that they build something that we can take into the world. The point is not to sit down in your private space and have your great moment, but that your great moment feeds your life and makes it a life, makes it an authentic life, a valuable life. And so there's a lot built into a spiritual practice. It is a time that needs to be entered with invocation, as we said, with a sense of specialness, with a sense in which I'm going to step outside of time to accumulate something that I can take with me of this timelessness, this eternity, to take back into the moments of my so-called ordinary reality, to better make them extraordinary. And so we close our practice just as we entered it. Perhaps not with an invocation, but now a dedication. And, it's an appropriate moment to even pray about those things that are of most concern, those things that you most want to see, especially in your own behavior. I know what my issues are. I'd like to see myself do a little better in this situation. You're again planting seeds. And then when you're ready, you take the arms out just as we did before, and you put the right hand over the heart, the left hand over the right hand, right thumb over left thumb. Spread the fingers, making a kind of winged heart. We lift our head to the sky, and as it comes down now we say, "This is not my body." And we take our chin to the left shoulder. And then as we allow the head to lull and drift across the chest, we say, this is the temple of God. This is the temple of God. We enter with the invocation trying to go inside. So we say, this is the temple of the heart. We go into the Holy of Holies where the heart is, and we do our practice. But then, as we need to emerge and go back out into the world, we need to remember another thing, that this is the temple of God. This is the only temple of God, really. This is where it's going to happen. This is where the work is. And this vessel is sacred. And where are we going to take it? How are we going to treat it? How are we going to allow others to treat it? Perhaps more importantly. If we know it's a temple, how do we allow others to treat it? And so these are very important things to do, to treat your spiritual practice as ritual, not as another thing that you add to the itinerary of the day that you put in your diary. It's not that. If it is that, you're not doing it right. Because then it will only participate or be characterized by that level of consciousness. You have to step out of that in order to bring some level of this consciousness into our daily lives. So I appreciate that you spent this time with me, those of you that did. Maybe some of you escaped. And listening to the geese at the same time. But right now we have to look for all the ways that we can connect and realize that in the inner landscape, there's no separating us. We have to find ways to realize our connection. And we're so lucky now to be able to do it in this way. And so I'm grateful for this time, and for us to be able to do this together, and even to be able to talk about something deep and real and rich in an environment, where we wouldn't usually consider it such. We're considered doing the inner work, through this medium. But I think we can do it, and we should try. So, thank you.
Thank you to Pure Nathaniel Miles Yepes for joining us and sharing his wisdom as always. You can learn more about the Anayati Maimuni Order on their website and through our connection via HeartFire Festival. We're going to move forward from Nathaniel's teachings now into an evening of music, prayer, and celebration. And so we hope you really enjoy my dear sister and brother, Rachel Sessions and Josh Hines, good friends, old friends. They visited us at World Changers Centers in Colorado before, and they're also now going to visit HeartFire Festival for the second time. They were at the New York event last year, and I'm very glad they're back again. So enjoy their music, their blessings of their voice and their songs, traditional songs. We hope you enjoy.
Yeah, gracias, Netano. Y bueno, le damos la bienvenida a una grandiosa pareja que compartirá con nosotros música tradicional, música realmente espiritual, de corazón, de alma. Y bueno, bienvenido a Rachel Session en Josh Hans. Una vez más que nos acompañan en este festival. Gracias nuevamente por acompañarnos, por ser parte de esta familia, y esperamos que todos ustedes puedan disfrutar de este espacio con esta música tan especial.
Greetings, friends and family at HeartFire. My name is Rachel Sessions. I'm here with my partner. This is Josh Hines. It's an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. A beautiful opportunity to pray and to sing and to enjoy all the blessings that we have. Thanks to those who have come before us, those who are coming after. May we offer this prayer for all of us.
Sing with me, a song of the end times, death of the old ways. Sing with me, pray for new beginnings, pray forever after. Truth is love. It's now or never. Take it and surrender. All we know is falling ever after. It's falling ever after. Didn't we already know? Didn't we already know it was falling? This kingdom has been falling. This kingdom, didn't we already know? Didn't we already know? The old days are dying, and a new kingdom is rising, and a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Plant your seeds, watch them bloom and flower, smell like ever after. Stay with me. Let it all just fade. Let it all just fade. Let it all just fade. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. On your way, on your way, on your way, you wanna. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. On your way, on your way, on your way, you wanna. Didn't we already know? Didn't we already know it was falling? This kingdom has been falling. This kingdom, didn't we already know? Didn't we already know? The old days are dying, and a new kingdom is rising, and a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, sing this song, a new kingdom has come. Oh, 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 my roots down into the earth. I put my roots down, down, down into the earth. I put my roots down into the earth. I put my roots down, down, down into the earth. I put my roots down into the earth. I put my roots down, down, down into the earth. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. I bow my head down, down to my heart. I bow my head down, 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 down to my heart. I bow my head down, down to my heart. I bow my head down, 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 down to my heart. I bow my head down, down to my heart. I bow my head down, 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 down to my heart. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. I lift my heart high up to the sky. I lift my heart high, high, high up to the sky. I lift my heart high up to the sky. I lift my heart high, high, high up to the sky. I lift my heart high up to the sky. I lift my heart high, high, high up to the sky. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. I put my roots down into the earth. I put my roots down, down, down into the earth. I put my roots down into the earth. I put my roots down, down, down into the earth. I put my roots down into the earth. I put my roots down, down, down into the earth. I bow my head down, down to my heart. I bow my head down, 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 down to my heart. I bow my head down, down to my heart. I bow my head down, 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 down to my heart. I bow my head down, down to my heart. I bow my head down, 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 down to my heart. I lift my heart high up to the sky. I lift my heart high, high, high up to the sky. I lift my heart high up to the sky. I lift my heart high, high, high up to the sky. I lift my heart high up to the sky. I lift my heart high, high, high up to the sky. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. We are looking for water from a deeper well. All of the stories of flowers and death, spinning, spinning around me.
All of the stories of flowers and death keep spinning, spinning around me. Keep spinning, spinning around me. I push and I pull at them, sweating each and every movement, spinning, spinning around me. I push and I pull at them, sweating each and every movement, spinning, spinning around me. Keep spinning, spinning around me. Keep spinning, spinning around me. But you don't even flinch from that quiet space inside me. But you don't even flinch from that quiet space inside me. Govinda Hare, Gopala Hare, E Prabhu Dina Dayala Hare, Govinda Hare, Gopala Hare, E Prabhu Dina Dayala Hare, Govinda Hare, Gopala Hare, E Prabhu Dina Dayala Hare, Govinda Hare, Gopala Hare, E Prabhu Dina Dayala Hare. But you don't even flinch from that quiet space inside me. But you don't even flinch from that quiet space inside me. And the sweetness drips, and the sweetness drips, and the sweetness drips inside me. And the sweetness drips, and the sweetness drips, and the sweetness drips inside me. And the stillness lives, and the stillness lives, and the stillness lives inside me. And the stillness lives, and the stillness lives, and the stillness is inside. How y'all doing out there? Enjoying your experience and diving deep deep into the wells of your beautiful hearts.
My heart, my heart, my heart, it's getting stronger, it's glowing brighter, my truth is closer, it's rooted deep inside of me. Grandfather fire, light with me, my heart, my heart, my heart. Oh, Mama Gaia, dance with me, my heart, my heart, my heart. Oh, holy water, wash me clean, my heart, my heart, my heart. Oh, breath of life, please breathe through me, my heart, my heart, my heart. It's getting stronger, it's glowing brighter. My truth is closer, it's rooted deep inside of me. Grandfather fire, light with me, my heart, my heart, my heart. Oh, Mama Gaia, dance with me, my heart, my heart, my heart. Oh, holy water, wash me clean, my heart, my heart, my heart. Oh, breath of life, please breathe through me, my heart, my heart, my heart. My heart, my heart, my heart. My heart, my heart, my heart. It's getting stronger, it's glowing brighter. My truth is closer, it's rooted deep inside of me. My heart, my heart, my heart. My heart, my heart, my heart. My heart, my heart, my heart. My heart, my heart, my heart.
So we've really enjoyed this time with you, this time preparing this set, preparing this prayer, receiving this prayer alongside you. And this is going to be our last song. We hope that you enjoy the rest of HeartFire Festival. Thank you all for being a part of it. We've been here with you lovingly, Josh Hines and Rachel Sessions.
You are a light, you are a love, you are all, you are bright and shining stars. You are a light, you are a love, you are all, you are bright and shining stars. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. You are love, you are all, you are bright and shining stars. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. You are sunlight, you are moonbeams, you are the breath of life and earth beneath your feet, believe me. You are a miracle, sensing and seeing. You are the stars at night and the flow of the river while you're sleeping. You are a light, you are love, you are all, you are bright and shining stars. You are a light, you are love, you are all, you are bright and shining stars. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. You are sunlight, you are moonbeams, you are the breath of life and the earth beneath your feet, believe me. You are a miracle, sensing and seeing. You are the stars at night and the flow of the river while you're sleeping. You are the stars at night and the flow of the river while you're sleeping.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aho, familia.
Aho.
Wow, what an incredible journey this has been. Thank you to all of you for joining us on this journey. We've really appreciated having all of you with us here throughout the weekend. Happy Halloween, happy All Hallows, happy All Saints Day, happy Samhain, happy Dia de los Muertos, de los Ancestros. Thank you everybody who made this event possible. We're calling in Nathaniel, who's here in spirit, couldn't be in this closing in person, but he's with us. Nathaniel Miles Yepes, calling in Raj, all our friends all over the world, calling in Ashke and Alec, our core team, the whole core team at the House, Kenley and Ian and everybody. And, thank you to everybody that's making this happen. Especially big thank you to Alec for creating the video content that we're enjoying this weekend, making sure the whole tech side of things runs smoothly. A very crucial service, so thank you for your work, Alec. And thank you to all of you for coming, for showing up, for participating fully. We hope that you've enjoyed the celebration and the music, and we hope you've also received something from the teachings and from the practices. So this is an experiment. It's a new way of celebrating, a new way of learning as well. It's a festival, and festival means feast. That's the word that it comes from. So what is a feast? I mean, why do we call it that? Well, because feast means food, right? But not just physical food. Like our Inca teachers shared with us on the first day, which is a very powerful workshop. If you haven't seen it, please go back and watch it. I highly recommend studying that entire video with Inca Tito and Coyacori. And with all of our teachers and all of the artists through this weekend, just really good stuff. So thank you to everyone for the materials. Thank you for the content, the artists, and everybody. So festival means feast. And like Inca Tito and Coyacori were sharing, food does not just come in one form. Corey was explaining that it's not just physical. And so here we're feasting on knowledge. We're feasting on harmony. We're feasting on a loving, compassionate, kind-hearted, warm-hearted, heart-centered way of relating to each other through the fire of the heart, through the passion of creativity and creative self-expression, and through the wisdom of all the ages from all directions that comes through unbroken transmission lineages and chains of initiation and transmission from teacher to student, generation to generation. So we are so blessed with a very rare and very sacred opportunity whenever we attend one of these events, not just because it's world changers, not just because it's HeartFire, but because these are the ancient teachings of the Buddha, of the Hindu path, of the indigenous traditions such as the Inca, and so on. So we could go on, the Kabbalah, the Judaism, the Sufism, it just all goes very deep. And then the new spark that ignites life in the new generation with the youthful passion of art and music, all coming together in these events. So, as you can tell, I'm excited about it, I care about it, that's why I work on it. Lots of times it's a labor of love, any donations are welcome. We'll keep going no matter what. So thank you for being here. No obstacles can stop us from doing this work, and no obstacles can stop us from doing it in the way that we feel is right and in alignment with our principles. And that's not just hubris, that's a commitment and a promise to myself that I intend to follow through with. So thank you to the team effort that makes this possible. Thank you again, one last time, for all of you being here. We're going to close as we opened on the first day with a prayer to the four directions, calling on all the traditions of humanity, this whole world, the mineral life from the subatomic up through the plants, animals, people, unseen beings of all kinds, up to the stars, the planets, the solar system, this whole galaxy, the supergalactic cluster we're in, like Manuel Sedano Mongrut was sharing in the Chicano workshop, orienting ourselves all the way out to our understanding of our place in this infinite cosmos, this infinite mystery, where we are held as children of the origin, the original light we come from and will return to in a whole way as individuals. So thank you for being here on this soul journey with us. And we wish peace to all of you, peace to all of your lives, peace to all beings in all directions. And as we pronounce the syllables hey, ya, hey together in a minute to the four directions and to the three worlds, above, below, and center, so 7 directions. As we do those prayers with the syllables hey, ya, hey, we intend to, the same way we started in a good way, we move through the middle in a good way, in beauty way, and at the end of this festival we're dedicating the merit and hoping that this work can be good for us and all of you, and ultimately all beings, all being in all corners of the universe. Peace. Amen.
Peace. Muchas gracias por ser parte de este festival, por poder tomarse el tiempo de ver, por estar aquí con nosotros desde sus casas en este círculo sagrado. Esperamos que puedan reintegrar en su tiempo, en su hogar, en su corazón, en su espíritu, todas estas prácticas y toda esta sabiduría que hemos podido recibir en estos 3 días de este festival. Como Yasha dice, festival o fest viene de alimento, ¿no? Pero no solamente no este alimento físico, sino como Inca Tito y Coyacori de la Nación Solar Inca compartieron en el primer día del festival, que la comida realmente tiene su esencia, y lo que nosotros absorbemos del agua, del aire, es la esencia, y todas estas esencias también tienen memoria. Entonces, muchas gracias a todos los maestros, todas las personas que han facilitado estos diferentes talleres, y también a todos los artistas que han podido compartir con nosotros, con el mundo, hacia todas las direcciones. Este arte de crear, ¿no? De crear vida, de crear conciencia, de crear armonía y paz a través de la música. Entonces, que nos toca a todos. Entonces, gracias. Recordamos, si realmente se perdieron alguno de los días, pueden ver los videos, realmente los recomendamos. Hay muchas cosas, prácticas claves y mucha sabiduría que realmente es tiempo de empezar a despertar, de aprender y de compartir también esto con todos, con nuestros familiares, sin importar realmente la edad, porque esto es para todos, para todas las edades, todas las naciones, todos los lenguajes. Y así esperamos desde aquí, desde el centro del corazón de este festival, de esta casa, de esta montaña, que pueda realmente llegar a todas las direcciones y a todos los corazones con este rezo de paz. Así que, bueno, ¿algo más que agregar?
Well, we just are saying that our intention is to create food, and physical food, of course, everyone deserves. So may there be no hunger in the world. But we're saying that, our thoughts, our information, knowledge, learning is also a type of food that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
And our feelings, our relationship to our emotions, is a certain type of diet that's important to observe. And so the knowledge, the science, the wisdom that is shared throughout the weekend, as well as the practices, disciplines, and activities, as well as the celebration and the art, is food. So feed your body in between the sessions, but go back and keep feeding your mind, keep feeding your heart and your soul with the feast that is this festival. Entonces, es posible alimentar no solo tu cuerpo, pero hacer una dieta con tus emociones, observar una dieta saludable con tus emociones. También es posible comer conocimiento y sabiduría y información de ciencia sagrada que ya no está secreta y queremos compartir con todos. Entonces, leer estos libros, estudiar estas sesiones y palabras de estos maestros. Y las prácticas también. Todo esto es alimento por alma y por espíritu, por mente y por corazón. Entonces, esperamos que ustedes puedan disfrutar la comida que es este festival por el mundo.
Ajo, hayaya, que así sea. Gracias. Y bueno, vamos también a cerrar en unos minutos. Como abrimos, también es importante cerrar, ¿no? Cerrar estas 4 direcciones, estos portales, de una manera como nos enseñaron nuestros abuelos, ¿no? Las tradiciones, en un buen camino.
Y gracias a Waira. Thank you to Waira for putting up with me and for being an incredible partner. So, again, always a team effort.
Thank you. Thank you, Yasha, también por ser parte de esta visión, de este servicio, de este trabajo, de esta fuerza, de este apoyo y de mantener este festival por un buen camino con este rezo.
Okay, so bless your lives, bless your way.
Bendición, bendigan sus vidas, su camino.
And we're going to go ahead and do the closing prayer to the directions. Please join us. Stand and turn to the 7 directions with us.
Por favor, acompáñenos a cerrar con las direcciones. Podemos levantarnos, por favor, para juntos desde nuestros hogares cerrar.
Peace.
Paz.
Hey, ya. Hey. Thank you to the air and the spirit of the east. Hey, ya. Thank you to the fire, the spirit of the south.
Gracias al fuego, espíritu del sur.
Thank you to the spirit of the west and to the waters. Oh, and turning.
Este es el espíritu del oeste, de las aguas.
Thank you to the north, to the earth element. Oh.
Gracias, espíritu del norte, espíritu de la tierra. Ay, ay, ay.
And turning all around, reaching up to the sky. The world above. And kneeling down, connecting with the earth, touching the Mother Earth, feeling the ground beneath, the world below. And coming to stand, connecting with the shared center, the heart of this world and of humanity, the space in between, space all around, and the space within. Peace.
Paz.
Munus.
Paz.
Nostra.
Nostra.
E paz.
We all come from the stars, and the stars we shall return like a